It's a high-pressure situation between these two teams. It is a former world champion versus a few members from a former EMEA champion and a former world champion in the form of Naga on there as well. This is peak Marvel Rivals, and I'm going to send you over to Moxie and Ryan Central for all the action.
That's the other side of it as well. You've got Naga playing up against his old team. They decided to bring in Terra instead. Quick things to note about Navi when it comes to the draft. Navi losing majority of the time to teams banning out the Elsa against them. And that's what Heretics have done. Immediately, it's different, Moxie. We're free.
Well, there we go. We said that would be the big curveball, right? Because now the wheels are turning on the side of Navi. The ball is in their court. What are you going to do in response? Probably look for a hypercarry duelist like the Phoenix if you still want to run the solo duelist. Maybe go for something like the Phoenix Wolverine so that Terra can get to play to his strengths. Since hearing from Enzo in the interview, they did not enjoy playing up against that one. But with Gambit in play, we now turn the focus onto Loki. Heretics will be banning that one out instantly, but Navi currently letting it slip a little bit further down, going for the ban out onto the Vanguard Deadpool on both sides instead.
And it seems that Navi might be picking up the Mantis themselves. The majority of drafts that Navi have won, it's been either getting the Elsa or the Gambit, whichever one, but then also getting the Deadpool Vanguard for not only Trust Me, but Rajaro's been playing a good amount of it as well. In fact, his most played Vanguard so far this tournament, surpassing the likes of Emma, which saw a lot of play, and also Magneto. It's a good look, but the Captain America banned out Heretics are like, yeah, you did this against First Pro, we're gonna do this to you.
I mean, I like this approach too, because like then if Navi want to play the dive, they would have to go for something like the Jeff. But as we've already seen, White Fox in play is very, very problematic for that Venom. Plus, Heretics will be able to save Daredevil, so Navi can't ban it out. We've got the information. It won't be one-sided potentially. They'll be taking out, it looks like Tanuki's Psylocke, which has been one of the follow-through duelists. They're thinking about it, but they might decide to go for the Doctor Strange instead. It's a domination map, so if you take out the Strange, there's no portals. Also, Heretics, like if they want to open up with a very aggressive portal, plus use the team up from the Invisible Woman, which likewise unseen in the ban draft, that is now stopped entirely.
Strange banned out, yeah, like Invisible Woman was left open. In fact, less of a strategist focus in the draft stage, full stop. More eclectic, certainly with more Vanguard starting to show their faces. But this is pretty much what you would expect or want from a grand final. It might be missing a couple of names, but these two teams are at the top of their game. Preseason EMEA grand finals, a full best of 7 against very tenured players. It's a great way to start off the year.
Here we go. Map 1, Navi versus Team Heretics out of a potential 7. And it will be the Gambit mirror. But Navi are already showing more heroes that have synergy, specifically with this character, right? You've got Trust Me on the Rogue for Hearts as 1. You've got potential as well for that Star-Lord to be able to come into the mix. But Terra at the moment is on the Wolverine instead, since Team Heretics, by taking away the Doctor Strange and the Vanguard Deadpool, their Vanguard line is going to be forced onto a double dive. Both the Captain America and the Venom, which means that Fate on the White Fox, he's going to be licking his lips, thinking about the CC opportunities when Team Heretics decides to commit to that dive.
I mean, Fate has looked the best when he was one of the early proprietors to Jeff. It's a different animal in nature with the White Fox, but he has been pretty much on the love train, I suppose, for the White Fox as a strategist option. A good thing here, Navi's composition is brawly to say the very least. There's Gambits available either side. It's going to be Team Heretics trying to use their low ground and put some pressure on the objective, whilst Navi trying to hold the high and waterfall their way down. Instead, it's going to be stifled as Terra's going to try and shove his way all the way through. Heretics finds that first pick onto Beetle as both Vanguards have taken a bit of a tumble. Enzo managing to survive. Tanuki's tried to sneak his way out, but there goes the second Vanguard. The front line is dissipated and Navi take the first point.
Yeah, no casualties on the side of Navi too, except, well, until now. Jerky does go down. Rajaro gets Oasis, and we're actually going to see the instant swaps come through. Team Heretics understanding Navi are going to play a very rush-heavy style with both the Wolverine and the Daredevil, with the Rogue applying pressure onto their front line. So you swap onto the Emma and Rogue instead. But that first fight, misreading the comp that Navi came out onto, that might have cost them, right? Navi are able to establish first point control. They've got 30% of a point lead. Fate's going to be closer to the Kumeho Unleashed than Oasis on the invisible boundary. And crucially, Crook, he's about to have the first Raging Roll flush of the whole round, far before Alex has the match.
Yeah, he's managed to actually get himself ahead, so this fight is going to be taken very quickly as the leaping of the Royal Flush goes in. Off of the Strange, holding forward. Naga's forced to use the End Song Inferno to keep himself alive, but it's only going to be for a short second. Everybody's cleared up from the Heretics. A clean sweep in this engagement, and it's just a one ultimate in the end that Navi had to use.
Yeah, and now you're going to be sitting at a good 60% of the point plus. Team Heretics still not going to be able to engage through with their one-sided Gambit ultimate, which means that, trust me, gets an opportunity here. Build the Heartbreaker and drain it away before Alex can use, because that's Heretics' whole game plan at the moment. Terra gets scouted out, does manage to escape the situation unscathed. No line of sight for the Force Physics to pull him back in. But that stall out does mean that Team Heretics have been able to get themselves a little bit closer to the point, take some more damage. Last stand onto Enzo, though, taken behind the Strange Shield as well, so that Heretics can't heal him back. They have to commit the Gambit ultimate, but they're already down 2 players.
It's an over-dedication when there's so little on offer for Heretics. Oasis, though, managed to pull a few more picks, and a Kumeho is going to be used from Fate. One of the elements of this game that is certainly worth highlighting on the White Fox is how good these ultimates typically are with the impact. It might not have led to too much, but it's led to some space being created. Heretics can't quite touch, but with 4 ultimates, Moxie, it feels like this point was chopped. We move on to the Monument.
Yeah, it feels like the stars aligned again for Navi. Like you said, Fate being able to be a sort of just mad doctor in the labs with Jeff from last year, now getting to apply that same role with the White Fox has proved so problematic for a lot of these team compositions to deal with, especially since Dive was so big headed into both the group stages and preseason playoffs. And Team Heretics, we talked about misreading the composition that Navi comes out on might cost them not just point percentage, but the fight's so one-sided that they lose the second one off of Snowball ultimate economy coming on through from Crook. Added to that again, one-sided Gambit ultimate, a third one-sided ult coming fight coming on through from the side of Heretics. No chance of being able to stabilize themselves, no chance of being able to have ultimates to pair alongside the Gambit, so that when Alex eventually uses the Raging Royal Flush, there's very little follow-up that the rest of the team can actually do. And unfortunately for Heretics, it might be more of the same, since Crook's already halfway to this next one. Rajara is going to be opening up with a portal too, just trying to put the pressure onto Heretics early, potentially force out that invisible boundary, or just get Trust Me through close enough to use the Heartbreaker before Oasis can react. Oasis gets tagged by the Rogue ultimate, does escape it, so you do have the invisible boundary here, but it looks like he gets grabbed and taken down yet again before he can use the ult.
It's a perfect play from Navi to find the picks. Tanuki uses the last stand, but he's the last alive. Unfortunately, he's trying to find a quick reset off the map, but Jerky is going to send him right back to spawn as that fight was clean. Something the Heretics were known for is going for those Doctor Strange portal plays, and Navi use it straight against them.
Yeah, with that Strange ban out as well, Heretics could not go for one of their own, having that invisible boundary already up before the fight started to push Navi into potentially taking a fight. No Strategist ult, no Gambit ult. Speaking of that Gambit ult, level 1 Crook has. Oasis has the invisible boundary back, but they could just get very quickly overwhelmed as Navi have closed up the distance, and they're eyeing up where exactly Oasis could be. Invisible boundary paired alongside Heartbreaker, the slow with the end song applied as well, does manage to mince through the sustainability of the Gambit, and Navi lose the fight. Heretics will be able to complete the flip.
Finally able to get something onto the board, and Navi actually used it up quite a lot and still ended up losing the fight in the end. The Heretics know that they have to be a little bit more aggressive now, because there's not many ultimates to rely on outside of the Royal Flush that Alex is almost building up to. Terra leaping in off a character that people don't remember that used to be very good on way back when. Can't quite get much for the last stand as Heretics have retreated all the way back, playing with the information that Tanuki gets, the invisible boundary. Tries to set up where the engagement is, but Fate gets caught out in the in-between, so the invisible boundary is going to drop to the ground. It was a great spot, a great read from Tanuki, and he's found the counter-attack from Navi, missing and lacking.
Yeah, big fight win on the side of Heretics, but you still have to worry, is Navi are going to be swapping Terra off of the Wolverine onto the Star-Lord. This is enough to be able to win out that coin flip between Galactic Legend Raging Royal Flush beating out just base Galactic Raging Royal Flush on its own, or potentially that invisible boundary. Heretics have to be able to make a play taking out the Star-Lord so that Terra doesn't have the ultimate to be able to pair alongside Crook. Oasis too has to hold the Force Physics. You're eyeing up the Eye of Agamotto coming on through from Rajaro. They know that it's going to be online, and you do not want to lose your strategists to a well-placed Maelstrom of Madness.
Tanuki's gone into the backline again and found that pick over onto Crook, and Jerky's trading out the picks either way. Tanuki, both of them are like making this head-to-head work, but just focusing on the backlines and not focusing necessarily on each other. Naga, however, trying to spot where his duelist, a teammate prior to this, is gone, and it's a retreat back as Heretics have built their way up to 85%.
Yeah, but they haven't built up a strategist, so like Navi get an opportunity here. Crook will be able to have the cast of Raging Royal Flush before Oasis has the invisible boundary. Tanuki falls early too, so Navi have a lot of confidence, just full send, take this fight. Oasis trying to battery up the ultimate as quickly as possible. Navi not using the Gambit ultimate instantly. Pressure from neutral alone forces out the invisible boundary, and Alex is outside of it. Goes down to the Maelstrom of Madness charge coming on through from Rajaro. OT is in play on the side of Team Heretics, and Song Inferno for the health reset, but Navi have been waiting, biding that time. Out comes the one-sided Gambit ultimate, Heartbreaker alongside it. You've still got the Galactic Legend in the back pocket to be able to snowball into this next fight, because Navi still have to win up more if they want to be able to walk away with this round win.
Yes. It's scary now for Heretics, so you've at least able to bring it to 99%, but we have seen some teams kind of flounder these like middle of progression fights and then be left with absolutely nothing, and there's no portal to go for either, which means if you're dedicating here as Team Heretics on this retake, you very much need to go in with no ifs or buts, and everybody needs to be aligned. So now you've got some ultimates to sort of lead the way when it comes to the Heartbreaker and the Let the Devil Out, but it's Jerky that's going to try to prevent this. Get in there early to make sure the Heretics can't set up. There's the Royal Flush to try to go in, and now with this information, Navi's got to go in for the offensive. The killing blow potentially is Jerky has found Naga on the outskirts, trying to go for a bit of a crossfire, gets taken out. Beetle alone on the point now that it's 80%. Heretics' whole game plan is falling through. There's two ultimates that they had first, and not going to be handy as Heartbreaker and Let the Devil Out still available for Heretics. They tried to go in, but Jerky shut the door on him, bought everything else out, and it's looking very unlikely the Heretics are going to be able to touch here. Whoever's available is going to have to hop on. Enzo switched over towards the Venom. Naga's able to at least force overtime, but he gets eliminated straight away. There's the Heartbreaker finally, last but not least from Beetle as he goes in, but it's only for a short amount of time. Enzo, now the resilience is needed to keep this point stalled, but it's not going to matter too much longer. Heretics can't quite get it all together, and Navi win out on Domination.
Yeah, Navi just doing a very good job of having both the Kumeho unleashed as well as that Galactic Legend. So when Team Heretics try to make a play off of one-sided Raging Royal Flush, the two ultimates stand in the way of it. Navi come out with the fight win. It's so close to last fight territory as well that they just flood the choke, make it absolutely impossible for a regroup on the side of Heretics. You don't have to worry about the strange portal being able to bypass all of those player bodies. You literally just have to be able to scatter Heretics to the ends of the map, forcing them one by one to burn all of those utilities and cooldowns, going for things like the Star-Lord iframe just to hit onto the point to activate the OT, so that when the Heartbreaker does come through on the side of Beetle, there's no rest of the team to be able to follow it up. You pick apart the rogue, you pick apart the rest of the players, and you pick yourself up that first map.
One elimination against Fate. That backline of him and Crook looking stellar, and whilst it was more of a focus of level 1 Crook being able to play the Gambit when it was banned out before, he's at least able to make sure that it's glowing. Heretics changing up a big aspect of their draft, but Moxie, it didn't really amount to all that much in the end, and it means that there's going to be a little bit more required from them when it comes to this performance.
It feels again like just like Navi coming out with the Gambit, but already having the Rogue in play to be able to secure that first fight in neutral just allowed them to snowball so much of those domination setups.
See exactly where this next map is going to go. It's the choice of Heretics. We'll see after this break.
versus Heretics. But hallelujah to everyone who was talking about it yesterday. Heretics did ban out Terra's Elsa. Moxie, was it worth it?
I mean, it's always going to be really difficult in a Gambit mirror when you lose the first fight so one-sidedly, so that you don't get the opportunity of mirroring the Gambit ultimate itself, right? We talked about it a little bit on the actual, like, cast. That first fight, Navi coming on through with the Rogue already in play, being able to perfectly mark out when Heretics would go for the dive hit with both the Cap and the Venom, already having the White Fox posted up as well to absorb it, just meant that they steamrolled through the whole team. There was very little healing opportunity for Heretics' backline to be able to match. So second fight, boom, Navi just full send with a one-sided Gambit ultimate because they know you have zero defenses against it. And from there, it's going to be an ult dump fight that you rely on being able to just like grab that fight and map control back, and then your back is against the wall. The other side has way too much point percentage, and they can just play for a one-fight win situation.
Ryan, it looks like Heretics now, with their map choice, have decided to live up to their namesake, take the fight to the gods, and are taking us to Yggdrasil Path as our next map, taking us to Convoy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Heretics are going to be upset that they can't go for any, like, Sharknado plays, because that was something that they would rely on in some of these more chaotic grand finals to get past first, which is where Navi held them on the last time that these two teams played against each other yesterday. So it feels like at least Heretics have had the chance to work out some stuff, use the fact that they played up against Shikigami on this map as a bit of a warm-up for this, but Navi got to sit here and watch it all come into play. I think the curious thing really is just like, yeah, sure, with the Elsa, like if you're banning it out instead, it sort of forces Navi to be able to sort of play in those positions. You at least get Croc away from the Lunar Snow when he's going to be playing Gambit, so you don't have that duo to deal with, but it's still scary. That backline is hard to shut down.
We also saw, we're talking about that backline, we saw Fate once again getting his hands on the White Fox Moxie, which, as usual, seemed to do them some pretty good work as we head into map number 2.
Here we go. Map 2, Electric Boogaloo. Will the ban draft change yet again, or will Heretics now stick with this instant ban onto that Elsa? Looks like they're going to be sticking with the instant ban onto the Elsa. So yet again, Ryan, we get the Gambit mirror flip, unless someone swerves the path and goes for a save onto the Mantis.
Yeah, I do wonder, sort of looking at the Deadpool Vanguard, especially as that third ban for both sides that was mirrored, it's actually going to be earlier. Really does feel like Navi might want to sort of put some priority in it. They're not really that worried about sort of going for anything else, like it was the Mantis that they went for beforehand. Going to protect the Gambit to make sure that it's not going to be taken out, but it is maybe going to put some early stress on Team Heretics to ban out the Deadpool Vanguard earlier, or go for something else instead, because Loki and Mantis are still available.
Yeah, it's the Loki that Heretics are going to go for. Is, yeah, like you can't let Loki Gambit through. If you've got a Gambit mirror, but one team has a Loki, then you can literally just use your first Raging Roll Flush cast to force the other, and then come through with your own still in the actual pocket. As we'll get the ban now onto the Vanguard Deadpool. Not a Manta save, but a one-sided Invisible Woman coming on from the side of Navi. And we saw it a little bit earlier on Spider Islands. A lot of these Convoy maps are a little bit more linear in terms of how your core team plays. So being able to have that pierce ability to both heal and damage at the same time does mean that Invisible Boundary builds up very, very quickly. Plus, you're expecting some elements of dive coming on through with things like the Daredevil and the Venom, and having the force physics up to be able to deal with just a soft dive, then having its hand forced into turning into a hard dive, into turning into a visit back to your respawn point is very, very handy. As it's going to be a save on the Daredevil on the side of Heretics, which means that Navi could, if they wanted, go for a ban onto the Mantis. They were thinking potentially about going for a ban onto the Groot, but we'll go for the damage boost instead.
So it is a one-sided Loki available for Team Heretics. Navi decided to not ban it out on the other side, and I think that mostly is for the case of like, well, Alex is their Gambit player, and also their Loki player, and also their Invisible Woman player. You can't clone him out. Like, Oasis probably can move over to the Invisible Woman, but like, does he play Loki that much? It's hard to get a gauge. So Navi actually sort of feeling like them not having access to Loki and the other team do. Not too much of a stress for them, ultimately.
Yeah, Navi going to be starting off on this defense, Terra actually going to be starting off on this Wolverine, and I mean, that takes us back, right? We were talking about the history of some of these teams. Terra was a previous player called Aphazy who played on the side of Team Mutants, who were actually the team that won MLC Season 0 back in America, all the way back in 2025, before that team then got picked up by 100 Thieves, and he name changed to Terra, but he was a huge pusher of this Wolverine as a staple, as a duelist, as well as that Winter Soldier, and being able to play that one with both the Phoenix so that you have the Primal Warrior team up, meaning that you have extra survivability with the lifesteal based off the damage that you do, is going to be very problematic for Team Heretics to have to deal with, since on the attack you're expecting some element of dive coming out from the side of Heretics just to force Navi to turn their attention to deal with it, so that the rest of the team have a safer time pushing past this first corner.
Yeah, they're trying to do their best to make their way through, as both teams are trying to run this like 2-2 composition. And there goes Oasis for the time being, at the very least. Just me going to make sure that this dive attacking side of Heretics isn't going to find too much, and maybe got more than he bargained for, but the cooldowns all come out to just allow him to leap back to his team for some support. Terra trying to see if he can go in for the leap. It's available now.
Daredevil.
Yeah, making sure that he's got an eye on him. Might not necessarily have the sense or the killer instinct, but is just going to use his scent in order to try and make sure that Tanuki can't get much space.
Yeah, not just Tanuki, but Beetle as well. So Terra's going to have to be a lot more proactive in patrolling these lanes, as opposed to Tanuki, who with the passive gets to see where you'll be, but the Wolverine grabs the follow-up damage. And again, Navi are just in full control at this point in time. Terra's been an absolute beast that Heretics really have to turn and deal with. But they're just not finding these opportunities, as Oasis doesn't play the Luna, goes for the Jeff instead. So trying to play away from the fight, but because so many of these Wolf grabs are depositing Heretics players past the corner, there's no line of sight for the Jeff to actually help out healing.
Tanuki leaping in, just almost using the heads of Navi as a way to step toe his way across, but there goes Jerky. Have got the ultimate use from level 1 Crook, but it's the rest of his team that is actually starting to flounder and fall apart. It's a bit of a weird fight. It's like watching Tanuki just sort of take these individual 1v1s and absolute find the culling of the backline as Navi split apart intermittently, and it's just a weird way for this one to go.
Fate has the invisible boundary, but Heretics will have Gambit ult. You also have to worry about the Ensong Inferno and Meteor M. If the Guardian Shield from the Invis is too early, Ensong breaks it, and then Meteor M breaks the Susan Storm from behind it. As we're going to see Ensong coming on through. Alex utilizes that Raging Well Flush. Fate reacts with the invisible boundary as Heretics just go into the ultimate, brawling with the Gambit to make sure that Navi don't just get to sustain and push back the moment that it drops. But Crook's been able to get one. It's traded for your invisible woman though, and it looks like that might be enough as Oasis comes on through with the It's Jeff. Heretics taking the fight into the streets of second, really depleting Navi's players who can actually stall the point.
Ooh. I mean, it's basically a second job that Rogue had there. Trust me, trying to get rid of Oasis that went in for the play and then touching the point was a little bit too much for them to deal with. Heretics having a good attacking side. Probably one of the more calmer, like, first point takes, because Navi felt so, like, spaced out. Even the portal play, there was a lot of respect given from Heretics, and it feels like a lot of these battles that are happening, Moxie, are on the outskirts. It's where Tanuki and Beetle are taking these fights.
Yeah, which is why Jerky has swapped to the Daredevil so that you can scout out before Heretics are in position to hit. Heartbreaker comes on through from Trust Me, but Beetle has the Freedom Charge, so Heretics will be able to hold their heads above the water at the moment. Last stand attempted, does find the connection onto Enzo, so you do lose the mag. Rajari sees an opportunity. Eye of Agamotto catches Tanuki mid-ultimate with Jerky using his own Let the Devil out. Navi doing everything that they can to just burn Heretics out of players, out of ult economy as well, and potentially just lose this fight, but be able to win the next with close to the respawns.
It's just a scrap. It's a Saturday night outside the local pub for some of these melee characters. Every perspective we switch to, it's just throwing hands to the best of their abilities. Naga, though, trying to see if he can sort of take this high ground perch atop and stop these players from Navi trying to go in for the reset. They see exactly where these other defenders are trying to come from as Trust Me leaps into the fray again onto the Rogue. Everybody's grouped up onto the objective, so whether these cleaves from the Jean Grey are good enough to clamber through might be great. fate. Beetle, however, goes down as Naga brings out the end song Inferno. Oasis at least trading onto the frontliners. Trust me, keeps going down in these fights over and over again. Royal Flush has created a lot of space, but you see Tanuki sneaking behind to maybe try and backcap this or group up with the rest of his team that have been sent back to spawn.
But Navi catch up with the disengage. Heretics try to kite out the first Gambit ult, then recover the fight with their own. But now they're getting the eliminations onto a little bit of an overextension coming on through from Navi's end. Still not a full team wipe though. Just taking so much time off of this bank. Fate's got the Kumeho unleashed. You have to be concerned about Enzo just using the Meteor Am to take all of that extra health down. It's Jeff comes on through on the side of Oasis. Might Yap does get the White Fox. You can grant CC immunity to the rest of your team, but you're not waterproof. And there goes the It's Jeff taking Fate in the ultimate off the map.
It's a sink and a brief drink, I think, for Heretics. But they're still not able to actually get much going. Terra's brung out the last stand, and it has isolated Enzo from the rest of his team with this fight. You can see almost that it's going to be Naga that was going to take a step back, trying to use his ultimate aggressively as Tanuki is switched away from the Daredevil to go away onto the Psylocke now. Enzo also on the thing. It's going to get even more brawly, surprisingly. It feels like all of these players are just wanting to take good chunks out of each other, but Navi stem the bleeding again, only for a brief second. This is a very early portal play. It's not going to be useful in overtime now for Heretics. This is a big gamble to try and take this fight ahead of Navi's ultimate cycle.
Especially because Crook, right? That's what you're going for. Beetle has the freedom charge. You have to run at the Gambit and find the elimination. But Rajar has identified that Heretics are making the first move. The backline are going to be vulnerable. Forces the POV Eye of Agamotto, and that frees Crook up to get the ultimate online and Navi to run into Heretics with the Let the Devil out. And like you said, that was the Strange Portal. That was the play coming on through from Heretics. Win the fight before the Gambit ultimate or see the cart stop where it is. Enzo's trying to come back onto that Venom. That's what Navi are looking for, but no one's going to be able to get the touch. I'm guessing Fate might have been able to land the Spectral Surge Charm onto the Venom mid-swing to be able to prevent Enzo getting past, and that is the line drawn in the sand. Not held on first this time, but held on second.
Would have been hell of mechanics to work it through. I do like Heretics going for like that early portal, just trying to get ahead of the Raging Royal Flush, and it would have worked to an extent if it wasn't for Rajaro coming in with a pretty major like Eye of Agamotto. It didn't result in any eliminations, but it just bought time. Raging Royal Flush, you could already see that Jerky, who masterful switch over to the Daredevil, that changed a lot on Navi's defense. Those two ultimates used together, you just run it down. You've got Rogue on your team as well. They're going to be happy to just go in with the aggressive nature of the Royal Flush ultimate. Navi worked wonders with the timing, and Heretics were very close to a 200 IQ play. It was just a couple of milliseconds off.
Yeah, it's just like defense team macro, right? Take as many fights as you can. Even if you lose them, you're still forcing ults, you're still getting trades, and crucially, you're also still forcing time. So by the time that Heretics round that corner, they're just out of resources to be able to brute force the fight and beat the close respawns. Still, for Yggdrasil Path, they did get quite a far distance through, and especially now that they get the Star-Lord at the start of the fight to be able to play alongside that Gambit, it's a risk here though, because in terms of Vanguards, you're giving up the Rogue or the Mag to be able to pair with this Gambit. It cost them that first fight on Hell's Heaven before, trust me, having much more damage in the neutral, but Enzo having that brawliness to be able to have both the damage reduction but also get those punches past the Strain Shield. Not immune though to the Rogue grab. So already having to back up and give space.
He was just hoping to go for the swings and maybe take a leaf out of Kai's book when he was just going in for the absolute brawl approach on the thing on Spider Islands. Here, however, not too far. Navi have a bit more distance to push than last time where they full held Heretics on first. But this fight has gone so well to begin with. Heretics are close enough that they're not going to need the portal play, but Oasis switching over to the White Fox pretty early on. We haven't seen an awful lot of that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Navi though, like, honestly, something that we have to talk about, pretty hard to be able to, like, see just from POV. Rajaro with the Strange, just going for the shield flashes, stopping the heal line of sight coming on through from Heretics, since it's a health bar as opposed to a cooldown until it gets broken. Trust me, does go down, overextended from the rest of the team. Heretics with the player advantage in this fight, still having to be very, very cautious that they have one person always contesting on that cart. Fate gets the invisible boundary, but we got the clobbering time off onto both Terra and Rajaro, but it's inside the invisible boundary, so most of the players are able to recover. They lose Jerky, but what they have to worry about is the fact that Heretics have that Gambit ultimate ready to go, but down 2 players. They're going to have to beat out Navi's whole team who still have theirs.
Agamotto is handy for Rajaro, but right now with the Royal Flush, he's just using it as a chance to go in for the more aggressive approach. Now you've got Kamiho that's going to be used actually to try and stall this out. Agamotto is going to be used to make sure that the Fox gets put straight down as Terra cleaves up the rest of these defenders from Heretics. They wanted to go for that last minute stall, built up the ultimates, but it didn't matter. Rajaro is the king of this one.
The good thing, though, for the side of Heretics is that you forced out both the Eye, the invisible boundary, and that Raging Royal Flush. Jerky's going to go for a close hold. He's very close to let the devil out. A couple of hits from the Billy Club, and he'll be right there. But what you're really worried about is Heretics utilizing the Starlord ult to buy all of the space back. Trust me, he's got the Heartbreaker too. Might be able to find the connection early on onto the Starlord, but no, there it is, and there Jerky goes.
Leap in from Terra. He is so low though, but he's able to absolutely make a carving through. Trust me, he's gone down at the same time. So Heretics now holding on for 4 more minutes. It's not that much distance, but it's just around this horseshoe. We've seen plenty of defenses, Moxie, that have been held from this point for a fair amount of time. But Navi have so much in the bank that they're willing to allocate some just neutral exchanges to get some of these ultimates together to go in for the full kitchen sink approach.
Oh, yeah, Crook's just building up, slowly shoring towards that next Raging Royal Flush. Clobbering time from Enzo misses, down to the butterflies, forces out the invisible boundary, but Jerky punishes the fact that Heretics have no strategist ults to be able to survive. Navi, last fight territory, now going to be looking at what Heretics have available. Swap onto the Strange, Enzo's maybe going to try and portal the team into position, but level 1 Crook's going to be available. Might go for the cancel onto the TP as well. Rajaro's just riding the cart. Heretics having to walk right into it, but that means that they have to go into that Gambit ultimate. Fate with the invisible boundary not going to be up, but trust me, has the Heartbreaker to make sure that Heretics lose their strategist. Huge Eye of Agamotto comes out from the side of Rajaro, and Navi complete the push with time to spare. 2:51 left as they're able to equalize and surpass the distance posted by Heretics.
A statement attacking side, and done with such panache, you have to say. Another MVP performance from level 1 Crook, MVP of the mid-season finals, the first international event that we saw in the EMEA team win. And whilst it is just going to be our guys in Europe facing up against each other, it's still the same MVP performance in these grand finals. 12 final hits, a surprising amount for level 1 Croak, but he was in amongst his team, ready to go in for some more like close quarters combat.
Yeah, I mean, Rajaro on the Strange has looked absolutely lights out so far. Not just lights out, heals out on the side of Heretics too. Like, the damage blocked 37,000. We have to have a separate track on how much healing he's been able to block on the side of both Alex and Oasis. As I was like talking about the shield flash that you can do with the Seraphim shield, since you can just bring it up so consistently, you'll see it there. The moment that Navi work out someone from Heretics is a little bit too far forward and splittable, the way that you would see like a player punished with Groot walls, they're seeing the opportunity. They know that the backline won't be able to get that line of sight onto them. Strange brings the shield up, and Navi takes them right out.
It's a great way for Navi to actually put themselves at the top of the EMEA power rankings, and there's still more to go. For Heretics, you have a choice of map again, and then some, as it is a first to 4. But it does mean that we will be going to a convergence map. There was Heart of Heaven before the Team Heretics chose. It didn't necessarily go their way. So we'll have to see if it's going to be a change up to something like Jalia or Symbiotic Service. We'll have to see as this best of 7 goes on.
It's time to try and bring back some trauma, as Heretics looking into the bank of what's left available when it comes to their convergence maps, and they pick the one that Navi lost on first this stage. They are taking a little bit of a Shikigami strategy, and they're going to take them to Central Park, Ryan.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be looking up to the torch in the sky and be like, remember who you are. Just Shikigami trying to give some of that energy over. This is wild for Team Heretics. They're 0-2 on Central Park so far in the preseason, and they go, you know what? This is the map that we want to go to. You don't want to go to Jalia because Navi are pretty prominent on it, and it is also their map pick. Clintar, Lord knows how that's going to go, and Shin Shibuya, no, absolutely not. They're going for Central Park despite not winning on it.
Yeah, but maybe like that's the play, right? If your map loss rate is as poor as that, it's maybe the move that Navi would least expect and therefore do the least amount of preparation in anticipation of you choosing it.
Again, there is also the argument that Shikigami were able to take the win off of Navi on this map, and Team Heretics have now had to go up against Shikigami doing that potential strategy multiple times now. They've probably played this map quite a few times on the exact same strategies repeatedly. They might have been able to pick up something by osmosis, or at least come up with some ideas, because right now it's time for new ideas, because Navi are 2-0 up. They are halfway towards a grand finals victory box.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're the side of like Heretics, you're looking at what Navi have been playing, which is really like interfering with what you want to do. I know they got like so much flack for not instant banning the Elsa, but it opens the opportunity for the Gambit, Rogue, Starlord, Mag to be as problematic as it is. And like, trust me and Rajaro at the moment, as much as we talk about Navi's like backline, their duelists, we have to acknowledge that their Vanguards are getting some serious work done. They were a lot of the reason why they were able to take as much space as they did on Yggdrasil.
Ryan, what would you like to see different, if anything, from Heretics? Do they just need to lock her in a bit more, or are there some changes that could be made in this draft stage?
Yeah, you know what? If they really are triple strategist merchants, let's at least see it from Heretics, you know, because they have been trying to play this like 2-2-2. It is what they're good at, right? Like, Mantis is usually one of the main focuses, but because of like the way the draft has been going, both the teams want the Gambit first. I would like to see Heretics at least try to lean towards that a little bit more, because going up against Navi in this 2-2-2 is hard. It feels very much like Virtus Pro, of like you're trying to match up to them pound for pound against what they're prominent at. And if Navi get forced to triple strategist, yeah, sure, you got Juriki that's been putting in time getting his strategists in order, including Invisible Woman and Luna Snow, and then Fate that's just this mastermind of playing some of these more niche picks that maybe Heretics haven't put as much time into. I just want to see like Heretics lean into what they're strong on, and maybe there's a chance here on Central Park.
This isn't their last chance. Like we said, it's only 2-0 in a best of 7. You need 4 to win. So they do have opportunities to try and adjust from here. Right now, we're just waiting for them to level up. They're doing those last minute strategy talks. They are ready, so we'll be heading in very shortly. But right now, Navi, world champions, and looking to go into stage 1 as your champions here, have all the momentum, Moxie.
Yeah, they have a lot of momentum, and I think like a lot of people were sort of saying like, oh, maybe Navi are going to be coming into this a little cold. Maybe it's going to take them some time to warm up. Nope, absolutely ignited the battle the moment that they entered that server.
And speaking of igniting the battle, looks like we are igniting the time stream, and our lobby will be materializing shortly, meaning that we are potentially, if Heretics cannot bring it back, halfway towards a Navi victory. So Heretics need to jump on in, and let's see what they can do as we head to Central Park for game number 3 of our best of 7. I leave you. We've got Moxie and Ryan Central.
I was going to quote what Rogero put in the match chat, which is like, very disrespectful Team Heretics to be making the audience wait 20 minutes between every game. But I mean, these guys have known each other for so long. He's obviously just ribbing them, as like Tetra said, Heretics wanted to use this bit of time to actually come up with a strategy. Whether it's going to be a big change up or not remains to be seen, but we'll see exactly how this draft is going to start. The same as the first two. Elsa's gone.
I think we're both expecting, though, a triple strategist line coming in front. That's already very, very different. Vanguard Deadpool is going to be the first save. So Navi now get the opportunity. Mantis, Gambit, Loki, probably one of the first two, maybe Invisible Woman, actually. that they're thinking about looks like it might be a Mantis lock. There's debate going back and forth about where they want to take it. Invisible Woman's very, very good at getting Invisible Boundary up with the amount of healing you can do when you're all boxed in those small spaces. But Mantis also means that you have to think about Loki and Phoenix and all of the rest of triple strat lines with the Ultron as well.
So is this going to be a ban on the Mantis? Is it going to be the Loki early on for Heretics here? It is a bit of a different change-up. And I do think that doing some of these curveballs is a good idea because you know that, like, Trust Me and Terra and whoever else are all just going to be like, okay, do this instead. They've got Deadpool Vanguard. Let's do that. All right, shut up. Like, let's just work this out bit by bit. They're going to make it a one-sided gambit a little bit later on in the draft. This Invisible Woman isn't going to be available, at the very least for Navi, this map. It could be traded out either way. You could sort of see them deliberating, but it is a one-sided Deadpool Vanguard against a one-sided gambit so far.
Is it Mantis safe here? Or is it Groot safe? Because this is a really good Groot map, and then you could potentially force Heretics into having to use this last ban on the Mantis, which means that you would then get the Loki through. Oh, this is a rough one. Like, if Loki gets through, then you have 2 casts of Gambit ult. If Mantis gets through, then you have 12% damage boost. Well, they'll get both, because Heretics take out the Daredevil instead.
And they're going to protect the Jeff, which is, yeah, a very different draft from what we've been seeing. It's kind of like spiraled onto like secondary, tertiary ripple effects going forward. The Starlord ban at the end is a good one. If Navi are going, hey guys, do you know what would be really funny? Ultron Torch, go! But they maybe want to go for this one-sided group, which is weird. It's going to be the Wolverine ban to make sure that Tanuki doesn't get a chance to really make it work. The thing about it is that Navi don't really have like a super well-known group player. It is going to be Trust Me who has been picking it, but it's not like his top 3 Vanguards. He's been going for like Venom, Captain America, Angela more so.
Yeah, but I mean, Navi, they've got so many options open, and also Central Park, it's such a good group map with just the wall pressure you can put on these players when they try to walk from main onto point. Terror on the Wolverine 2 is going to further exacerbate that. If someone gets grabbed, they're going to be deposited behind the team, and then Trust Me can use the walls to break the line of sight so that Heretics don't get the opportunity to stabilize them, and you'll be able to find those eliminations, as Fate's going to be rolling out on the White Fox. Level 1 Crook, by the way, currently showcasing the Rocket Raccoon. So we've actually got a triple... Oh, nope, there we go. He was just giving the armor pack and the jump cookie to Tara. I guess it was a little bit late. Just like, okay, orange, orange, orange. Where's the blue, guys? Where's the blue? There's the blue. Now I can swap off the Rocket and go to the Gambit. But I do like the fact that Fate's already on potentially like looking for these like CC opportunities. Thought about going for the White Fox, decides instead to go over to that Luna to have both the Idol Aura as well as the Ice Arts, and put the pressure with the Absolute Zero if Heretics try to take a dive.
There's a big question to be asked, though. I'm sorry, Tanuki. Is Tanuki going to fall off the map this time on Central Park? It's so scary for him, as he's already done it twice so far against Shikigami. But he's going to go in for the dives onto the Daredevil as the Wolverine was banned out prior. It, again, is this 2v2 setup with Naga and Tanuki being on the duelists to try and go in for this fight. Navi matching him, but it is Beetle that finds that first blow up against Fate onto the backline. The peel not quite there. He's immediately switched over towards the White Fox to make his way back, and the redive has gone in for Beetle, but he's caught out from Terra, who's pulled him into the mud.
Yeah, that Phoenix too, just doing so much damage. Fate actually goes to the Strange. No one was close enough to be able to facilitate the White Fox teleporting into the fray. They're so close to having Rage of Ultron or that Gambit ultimate, which would force Heretics to take a big step backwards since they've out of ults. Enzo does not have another Banhammer to set things in motion. This is giving Navi the opportunity. Crook's about to get the ultimate up. If Heretics can't put the pressure onto the Gambit, it's going to come on through. Strangling Prison catches the backline. Alex falls. No Fate of both worlds to turn the fate of the Lunar Snow. And Navi will be able to stabilize their hold, but crucially, they do give up 2 ticks of point percentage.
Could have been Heretics actually taking a point in pretty good time there if it wasn't for some well-played and well-placed ultimates. Justmead knows that he needs to put this focus in on these players trying to reset and regroup with the backline of Heretics that's managed to traverse the other side of this castle corridor. Watching it from Alex's POV, it's a bit more of a clearer sky. He doesn't have too much pressure on him, and all of his teammates are lined up in a fantastic way. Oasis going to bring out the It's Jeff to see if there's anybody that can be spit off the map. But Fate of Both Worlds and Ensong Inferno means the Heretics have dedicated 3 ultimates altogether at this point. Yeah, the Jeff has managed to get a few more. He's got the speed boost as well. Sayonara, Navi. You're going to be sent back to the second checkpoint as things move on.
Oasis just gets an all-you-can-eat buffet. As Navi have very little that can actually stop the Jeff. There's no one-shot potential. Likewise, there's no Mag or Hulk to be able to bubble it. The thing you're relying on is like the Groot to be able to wall you above the reach of it. But Oasis comes on through the clutch. Terror with the last stand lands onto Beetle. As Navi putting the full focus on taking him down. Spectral Surge as well to make sure that the Cap does not get the opportunity to use the ultimate, Freedom Charge, and recover. And that means the Heretics, they've lost all of that map space that initially they'd been able to secure.
Yeah, Terra is showing that it's not just these hit scan characters where he connects onto them nicely, it's the Wolverine alongside. He is the projectile that he's firing right that way, and Beetle gets caught out trying to sort of posture for a bit of that higher ground, gets caught out by the Feral Leap, and then the ultimate, and he's just CC'd into oblivion. Has the Freedom Charge, but Heretics already sort of stuck in their own attacker spawn. It's difficult, but there's already these like lifts of the high ground that Heretics are trying to use. Strangle Prison's going to bring them back down, or at least attempt to, as Tanuki has brought out the Let the Devil Out. You've also got the Freedom Charge that's going to allow a little bit more space to be created. There's the speed boost don't charge for everybody else on Heretics. It's going to be pretty handy to keep this payload trucking along up the high ground.
Oh, great use of the Righteous Cross coming on through from Tanuki on the Daredevil. That lunge capacity of movement gets him close enough to grab the Jeff bubbles for the heal as well as that speed boost, and does not go down. And so has a ban hammer, might go down onto the Star-Lord, so that Jerky just disappears in a puff of smoke. Iframe your way out of that one as Fate comes on through the Kumiho Unleashed, trying to stabilize Navi's position. Once Heretics are out of ultimates, they don't really have anything left. It's the Galactic Legend maybe in its Jeff, but that's allowing Navi another chance at stabilizing that team and potentially finding an opportunity to use the Strange Ult.
Fights a scary one. Naga gets stunned out of it. He's immediately stopped. So that's 2 Galactic Legends that are just a note too short. Navi hold on with this defense, and it was a fantastic interrupt, but it is available for this next fight so long as Naga can build it up. But it's more time stalled.
Oh, Terror is an absolute monster on the Wolverine. He truly is one of, if not the best in the world at this character. And like you said, you'll have Galactic Legend pretty quickly back up, but for Navi, they've got the Gambit ultimate in this fight. Even if Heretics go for this map flip, trying to avoid the poke, get onto the objective itself, and just put the pressure to force Navi to turn their attention away, you've still got your Gambit ult. You can stand up to the damage potential of the Let the Devil Out and basically say, okay, time to pack it in.
Beetle goes down first again. It makes sense. He's trying to be the one that's pushing Heretics into these fights, and he just gets pulled out of position by all of the CC available. Watching Fate also sort of swing these claws around is almost making Wolverine blush, as Crook has led the fight nicely with the Royal Flush. It's not going to be available for Heretics to use on their side. They have good ultimates, but none are going to hit as hard as that one.
I mean, if Navi hold close as well, they could potentially force Heretics to use early. Crook's been able to scout out that Oasis is so far behind. Both of the bubbles get burned. Oasis goes down. Might potentially been wanting to meet the team from the past. Galactic Legend from the Star-Lord manages to catch on to Jerky. Alex too stabilizing the team. But Navi, they've been able to keep their players up. The last time from Terra connects onto Alex. Once he's out of the CC immunity, put on mute once Fate of Both Worlds ends. And Navi are putting Team Heretics on pause at the moment. 40 seconds left. This objective has barely moved in 4 fights.
It's not shuffled at all. It's got a Freedom Charge. That's going to be about it for this next 30 seconds. Maybe Tanuki can get a Let the Devil Out in order to go for this fight, but you have to look at Jerky that's going to try and run it back with the Galactic Legend. Rajaro also, Ayabagamotos, they have been hitting pretty nicely if he can go in for the fight at the right point. But Beetle, there he goes, trying to go in, seeing the targets that he wants to focus, and he goes onto the back line. You've got the portal that was used to teleport the Ayabagamoto is going to come in from Rajaro. Not getting too much as Beetle is just absolutely hammering hammering this backline. Takes out Terra for his troubles at the same time. Payload is moving. Enzo finds 2. And now the Banhammer is very close to being available. Portal is a very close turnaround, but it might be enough to touch. Not quite. So this is now a scary part for Navi. They're kind of stuck in the open, which means the Heretics are going to carve through them and reset them, no doubt.
Yeah, but I mean, if Heretics try to just take the 6 versus 6, Navi do have the Gambit ultimate at their disposal. Looks like they're just going to back up, give space, but like you said, this is getting really risky now because they've lost all that distance, and Heretics, 1 minute left. They're going to just like try to push forward. Like you said, someone stalling, trust me, eventually falls, but that's still eating into the distance that Heretics would otherwise be able to establish. And Heretics, they don't have a strategist still. Like, Oasis has to be the clutch factor here in this fight. You've got the It's Jeff, but you have to contend with the burst potential of both the Gambit and the Star-Lord. Fate goes down, a well-placed dive coming on through from Tanuki, utilizing the Daredevil passive to just beat Navi out before they can regroup. Enzo with the Banhammer takes down the Star-Lord mid-ult. You don't miss, but the amount of damage that that tick does in the advanced state is more than enough to take the Star-Lord down.
The Galactic Legends have found very little between both teams because the counters are so good in the end. Enzo's superb work to shut that down before it's even started, but it's going to come out on the other side. Naga is going to go in for the fight with the Galactic Legend, and the Royal Flush is used on the other side. Morris at the Terra to try and fight this back. Terra wants to be the answer to it and goes into the front line of Enzo. Carves through one Vanguard, looking to try and carve through the other one. As Fate of Both Worlds now alongside the Let the Devil Out is going to be that this is just AoEs on AoEs. Like it's Fate just fighting. Daredevil's thinking, like, what's happened to the vermin of New York? There's a giant fox in my face that's clawing at me. Trust me, now he's also bringing out the Heartbreaker. All of these area of effects stacked on top of each other as overtime is hitting at the end of Central Park. Fate is clawed in off the back of this last stand for Terra. Everybody's pitted up into the corner, and it's the White Fox that struck them down. Pushing Heretics all the way back down these steps. It's now a case of trying to get this Captain America off of the objective. They do so, and Navi's defense holds out before the map is finished.
Okay, at what point do we think it becomes justifiable to ban out the Wolverine? That's probably what Enzo is asking his team right now. Because Terra has been on an absolute tear. 2 stunned out in that overtime fight with the last stand into the follow-up charm coming on through from Fate's Spectral Surge. But for Team Heretics, like, it was looking like potentially it could be a full hold. Then it was looking like it could be a hold on second. So the fact that they were able to push it as far as they did through third means that this map is still very much winnable.
Oh, very much so. I mean, it makes sense that Terra is playing like a rabid animal when, trust me, he's locked him up in his attic for however long. So at least that kind of performance is starting to show. But it's a testament to how good of a duelist he is that you forget that he's just an amazing hit scan player. But he is also very good on playing these kind of characters. And it is funny after you have Enzo calling Frost Mountain and Shikigami Wolverine merchants. And then Navi goes, haha, you know, we're about to do the funniest thing.
I mean, yeah, like, Terra was one of the OG big bad Wolverines that people, like, were so worried about. In fact, back in 2025, like, I used to dream of getting to see a Wolverine matchup between Tanuki and Terra. It's not quite the Wolverine versus Wolverine mirror this round, though, as Tanuki's going to be starting off on the Daredevil, which I think in the long run is going to be much more important for Heretics to understand where exactly Navi's players will be coming from, especially since Beetle's going to be holding up close. The Daredevil's passive doesn't quite reach all the way to spawn, so they wanted to scout out to see if there was a strange TP employed first.
We were thinking that after the ultimate charge nerfs that this game would be a little bit slower, but this has been absolute white-knuckle roller coasters with how these fights have been going. I mean, look at this! Just trust me that it's just taking a fight in the streets of New York, head-to-head, able to at least trade out a couple of picks, but be right back is meaning that Tanuki is back into the engagement straight away. He's just literally got back here, and he's immediately throwing hands with Rogue right into square in the face. Trust me, this is a brutal engagement. He's got his strategists keeping him alive. Lord knows how, is now Terra's the one that's going to go in and swing in full ferocity, now trying to decide on what target is going to hit it. Enzo has found his target though, as the Banhammer is going to come through, seeing if Navi have to actually give up a lot of respect and space here as they get the pick onto Jerky. There's a lot of like photo finishes here from Enzo, as it pretty much is going to be the Daily Bugle finding out what the hell is going on here on Central Park.
I mean, if you're Team Heretics, though, you're looking at this next fight and working out how exactly do you try to live it, since Crook's coming through with one-sided Gambit ult. Alex already has the BRB broken to bring the Star-Lord back early, which is the worst possible way to start this next fight. Oasis with the Jeff. If he can get the eat onto the Gambit, potentially have it for Fate's ultimate on the second stage, this could be absolutely huge. There's the Jeff coming on through. Fate utilizing that Kume home form, probably just gave someone CC immunity to be able to dodge out of it, and yet Fate will be able to continue having that ultimate up the whole duration of it. Oasis tries to swap to the strange TP because Team Heretics, like, they've got ultimates up, but he gets the portal through. The body block from Beetle means that Terra's not able to get on top of the strange and take him down. Cosmic Ion Amplifier boosts up the damage potential of that Galactic Legend. They try to make a play. Trust me, looks for the stun out up into the sky, but enough got through that Team Heretics are able to pull off the stabilize and hold the point. Wait, what's Jerky doing?
He's in the back line. He's fighting his own demons here, but he's actually taken out. That might have been a bit of an overstep. We thought that this was done. Like, Noctis showing back up in the server there. So thinking, wait, what is that we hear in the background?
He was fighting the backline. I think, like, for Navi here, it was a really good, like, risk to take if you knock out the strategist coming through from Heretics, because not a lot of you actually went down and you have Freedom Charge Heartbreaker. You can just play for a very fast fight in this next engagement when Heretics don't have their backline back, which is exactly what they're doing. Except this time, Rajara has to go much deeper into Team Heretics' side with the Freedom Charge to just push the rocket off position. Huge last stand comes on through from Terra, though, and that should be enough to be able to close out this tick.
I mean, it's great work. Like, it was just a weird, I think, like, this the respite in timing and then hearing a Galactic Legend scream from the second point. But Jerky was spending so much time there. He was the one that actually pushed up and went, hold on, my people need me, and went to go fight the Strange that was going for the portal on the defense. Heretics are going to be like, okay, get your breath. We need to really pace ourselves in this best of 7. But it's also a case of, like, we bought a good amount of time on that defense, more so than we were probably earned, because Navi had such a strong attacking side. Now Heretics want to go in for a very fast offense on this defense. Terra might be pulling Enzo out of position here, but there's enough healing coming in from Oasis and Alex that Enzo is going to try and survive. Beetle, however, doesn't get the love. He doesn't get the focus. Spirit back means that Beetle is going to be in this engagement soon, and Fate, with the melee sort of focus, able to go in for that fight, but as soon as the duration's done, he's TP'd straight out of there.
That got real close, but level 1 Crook should mean that this next fight is not close at all. One-sided Gambit ult. Jerky is taken down thanks to some help coming on through from the Banhammer, though, and Heretics have actually been able to hold their position. Level 1 Crook gets dealt with. There was no Galactic Legend to take advantage of the Gambit ultimate, and Heretics live it and now get to actually close up to Navi's spawn. No Heartbreaker, no Galactic Legend to try to deter them. It's Tanuki on that Daredevil's going to be able to relay the rotation coming on through from Navi's team so they can just split them apart and catch them.
And trust me, it's really close in the distance between Naga. He's like, bro, leave me alone. I thought you were a Vanguard on the ground. What are you doing with me? But he's managed to find this pick onto Tanuki to just get stuck in between. Naga's now going to come out with a Galactic Legend, but the rest of his teammates starting to fall apart. The rest of Navi on this defense grouping up into the low ground. As soon as there's a bit of an overstay from Naga, the Rogue is about to leap in and close the distance. Trust me, he's done so well on this Rogue to just be an absolute pest to deal with. Almost like an Angela with how much he's been in the sky.
Well, Fate has the Kumiho unleashed. Oasis probably going to be holding the Jeff to absorb all of that pressure. Jerky with the Galactic Legend could well kickstart Heretics into having to utilize some of the sustainability, but they get the first pick. Rajara has fallen. Last stand though from Terra. All three lined up. Beetle tries to come and prove the Freedom Charge, just buying stall opportunity for Heretics. Pharaoh grab, but the Captain America will still be able to survive as Heretics have 4 ultimates coming into this next engagement. They might see them all grabbed away though if they even get the opportunity to touch. Quirk's got the ult, sets it off instantly. Charm comes on through from Fate as well as Heretics utilizing the Cosmic Ion Amplifier, but it gets broken early. Isn't that to be able to boost up the damage coming on through from the Let the Devil Out? Rajara peels the team. Fate comes on through with the cast of the Fox ultimate. Oasis is still holding the It's Jeff, which trust me is going to now start to put pressure onto with the Heartbreaker fully in play. Heretics still having players up. Tanuki brought back with the BRB, but what's the next turn for them? They've lost the Jeff. Oasis got tapped by the Heartbreaker did not have the ult ready to bail the team out, and Navi tap enough players onto the payload. We go into third with 2 minutes to spare.
And you've also got Heretics building up at such an alarming rate. It's like last stand. For Navi, it was a royal flush into the Kumiho, into the Heartbreaker. Any more visual effects? Yes, please. As Heretics now wanting to try and be a bit more aggressive, take this bridge on the high ground as a way to set up, knowing that Navi are going to be pretty low on the ultimate charge. They have an advantage here potentially. It's maybe a chance for Tanuki actually to go in onto the backlight onto Crook. He gets him and Jerky before he's pulled down to the ground from Terra. Able to disengage, looking for the fight onto Trust Me that's now playing in the corridor. He's trying to reset with the rest of his team. And Heretics hold on, built up some good ultimates in that time that Navi have zilch.
Oh, Jerky's actually going to swap onto that Psylocke here, which means pulling a lot more attention into all of these different avenues of approach so that Heretics can't just guard the one main lane, apply the pressure, and have the Jeff uncontested alongside that Rocket play out of the way of Navi's danger. Great, though. Bubble coming on out from Enzo with that Unicorn Shield, cutting off line of sight onto Terra, who's been so problematic for Heretics to deal with. That's probably actually going to close out this fight. Navi just want to utilize the tail end of it to build up ultimate economy.
Well, they're actually going to use the Banhammer too. Like, they're building up so much ult charge that they're going to have plenty to work with. Terra Last Stand is going to be back into the fight fairly soon, but Jerky with that switch over to Psylocke is going to have a Dance of the Butterflies fairly soon. But this fight is done. It feels like Navi sort of overstayed with how much they were sort of in limbo on that fight, and there's not much time to work with. 20 seconds, you might have to go for a portal play, but I don't think you're going to have that luxury. In fact, it's going to be close distance enough to just try and leap in, but Tanuki's getting all of this information. He knows exactly how he wants to try and take this final fight.
Well, this fight's going to happen, and it will be fast. Here comes the Raging Royal Flush coming on through from Crook. Heretics, do they try and just kite this out, wait it to be done, since Navi still have a distance to be able to push this? Yep, no fighting, no eliminations, just base presence on the objective so they lose a little bit of distance.
Enzo.
Terra with a huge grab off onto Enzo, resets the Banhammer charge. Now he turns his attention onto the rest of the stall potential coming on through from Heretics, but Navi, they're down that engagement trump card. They don't have the Gambit ult to engage off onto. Oasis comes on through with the Ids. Jeff, someone's got to get on point to contest this, though. Alex with the Cosmic Ion Amplifier, Galactic Legend. Kumeho Unleashed comes on through from Fate, but you've already lost both your Gambit as well as your White Fox ultimate. Jerky wasn't vulnerable inside the Dance of the Butterflies. Trust me, with a late Heartbreaker, but Beetle still able to react in time. Manages to get the Freedom Charge coming on through, and Team Heretics still have a presence on the card. It's just dealing with some of these late-minute picks coming on through. Kirk swapped over to the Doctor Strange, trying to cast the portal in time. Navi's players, they've lost so many of them, but it's just in time. Crook's able to get through. That allows Fate to teleport. Now you're looking at Jerky coming on out, but no one is on the point, and Heretics complete the hold.
3 meters difference, but Heretics just dig it out from a map that they've not won on. They decide that this is the pick to bring it back, and it does exactly that. Navi at least forced a loss of a map against Team Heretics, but it means that their choice is coming up. The map pool resets again. Domination, Convoy, or Convergence. They all have a good go at it, and Tanuki really making the Daredevil work nicely here. It was just overall a good performance from Heretics, but good God, Moxie, that was a blessing to cast with just how brutal it was.
It was so, like, brawly. There were so many fights just, like, popping off at such weird timings, too, where both of these teams were just not allowing the other to get comfortable, forcing out ultimates so that when you went into the next one, they were in a rougher position. Like, speaking of, Team Heretics doing such a good job. Like, Enzo being able to come through with that Banhammer very, very, like, late when they're still trying to hold the choke against Navi, puts it on to level 1 Crook, so that all of that poke pressure that Navi are taking when they're trying to kite out without losing players, it doesn't actually get funneled into holding the Raging Royal Flush, and Navi don't have it up and available before Heretics are established in a position to be able to kite out of it, holding on to Cosmic Ion Amplified Galactic Legend to overcome the heal potential of the Kumeho Unleashed, because that only gives you the healing to players who are actually in the AoE. Starlord was outside of it.
There's so much more to come in this best of 7. Stay tuned after this.
Being on match point as they're able to seize Central Park with the help of New York's own Daredevil. But they are now heading to Spice as they have to deal with the Museum of Contemplation, Ryan.
Oh, I love just random Tim Curry shout-outs, you know? But yeah, I think also 38k damage that the Daredevil did from Tanuki is a heck of a performance. But this is like a good map to see because Heretics sort of forced onto it. Navi have picked this. They've won it 4 times, lost it once to Fire Strays, but they kind of bounced back from that fairly quickly. But this has also been a good map for Heretics. 3-0, actually. So this is one of those areas that, like, the pace that Heretics have been playing at and how they play at pace on Museum means that this is going to be some of the, like, fastest, off-the-wall Marvel rivals that we're going to see today. No doubt.
And we love to see that. When we've got players like Terra on that Wolverine, like Tanuki sometimes on that Daredevil, Enzo's been playing a lot of that Deadpool Moxie. This is going to be delightfully violent.
Yeah, and I mean, Navi probably wanting to take Team Heretics here because the first time that they matched up, it was like a really good like showing on the side of Navi being able to just walk through a lot of teams on Museum of Contemplation, having things like that Venom, although they haven't really been playing a lot of that Venom. The dive from this team has mostly been coming on through from Trust Me on this Rogue, who's looking with the amount of mobility that he's playing her with, like it is a Venom, just like go in, go out, bully a flyer, bully a backline. I've got my team up with my Gambit. I've got my team behind me to be able to keep me stabilized. I think, like, honestly, leading a little bit later on into the series, if Heretics are going to continue taking out the Elsa as opposed to the Gambit, you're really going to have to start looking at what exactly that Gambit is doing, not just for the ultimate economy, but also for things like that Rogue in neutral, where if Trust Me is getting a hold of people, the rest of Navi have enough damage to be able to follow up and find the pick.
It's the joy of this season, Ryan. It's not just what's good, it's just what enables what. And while that Gambit is one of the best characters, this season has made a rogue believer out of all of us, in no small part due to the fact that we have so many amazing players of it.
Oh, for sure. And it's just if you can enable some Vanguards to just do outrageous amounts of damage, whether it's the Strange with the Invisible Woman combination, whether it's Rogue with Gambit, you're going to do it. And I think we're seeing a lot of like Heartbreaker tied in with the Kamiho ultimates from White Fox. Same with like Let the Devil Out. Just if it's an AoE ultimate, stack them on top of each other and just make it miserable for anybody that's trying to fight in the middle of it. It's some really good, straightforward ideas for Navi to be working with. For Heretics, they certainly have the gusto to be able to go in and brawl through these despite being down a number or two. It makes for some like exciting stuff to watch, but Museum, they're going to be like, okay, we can deal with this as a map. It's been decent for us. It's just that Navi have been lights out on it since that Fire Strays loss.
They've been looking pretty solid, and they're going to be starting on attack, Moxie. Give us the quick breakdown. We've mentioned it before as to why teams often pick attack over defense.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going for the attack, you can actually like see the composition that the defense is on, go back to the drawing board without losing a fight and pick a composition that perfectly counters it, as opposed to the defense where it's like no coincidence that all of these teams on that Convoy defenses, a lot of the time, the comp that they play on first, they swap off to when we go into second and third, because they're coming into this understanding, it's great if we get a full hold. If, for the most part, this is all about stalling time, draining out your resources and ultimate economy, so that when we go into the rest of the map, it is later on down the line that you're impacted and you run out of time.
We're just waiting for Heretics to get back in. They have one guy who has taken a well-deserved bathroom break. I think that's very fair. We try and have very quick turnarounds here, so don't blame them for having to run very quickly to get that sorted. But we will be jumping into that as soon as possible. So Ryan, we're 3 games in now. We've seen the adaptations of banning out the Elsa. They've really just committed to removing that away from Terra at this point. But Team Heretics, we're onto a Convoy map. They're going to be looking for something a little bit more defensively first, as they're going to be forced onto that defense. What would you like to see from them?
Ooh, I mean, probably more Wolverine. It's not a bad map for them at all, and it's just going to be Terra looking to sort of isolate these targets. The more impressive thing is not only just the damage that he's doing or how ferocious he looks on Wolverine, it's that he is synergizing very well with his new team of Navi, right? It seems that they're sort of following the calls, the dives are in good positions, and really it's more of a case of like they adjusted pretty decently to the fact that Team Heretics like changed up the draft a significant amount, right? We're looking at like characters like, which was like Deadpool, Vanguard, Daredevil banned out towards the end. Vanguard Deadpool would be really good here if you can also get your hands on it with the damage that he's able to do, but it has just been taken out. Like, trust me, he's not been able to work with it, but he's happy to work with the Rogue. It's like a good result, I think, when you have these Vanguard lines that are very flexible. They can change at a moment's notice.
And Moxie, I'll flip the question on the other side for you. Start with Heretics starting on defense. What would you like to see coming out from them?
I think, like, to be honest, for the side of Heretics, you sort of have to understand that Navi aren't really playing the way that they have been previously. Like, we've always said that this is a very experimental team. If you're banning out that Vanguard Deadpool, like Ryan says, it does force, trust me, onto things like the Rogue, which pairs really, really well with the Gambit. Plus, Fate, very little Jeff gameplay actually coming through from him in total, even if the Vanguard Deadpool was in play. Much more White Fox, which means that when we see the way that Heretics have to apply this defense, they have to be very cautious that they don't overextend, overstaying your welcome with, like, people wanting basically on the Captain America or the Venom to, on Convoy, go into the backline or hit the objective itself while the rest of the team core is fighting on that front line, very quickly can get caught out by things like the CC from something like the White Fox, which Fate has been looking so good on.
Looks like we have a ready up from Heretics, so we'll be heading into the game very shortly. But Moxie brings up a good point here, Ryan. The White Fox has been looking really good, and we honestly have seen it was very close to a full 1v1 between two of the, like, originating Jeff players in the form of Tanuki, who used to be playing Flank Jeff back when Damage Jeff was a thing, and then Fate being one of the first players to Fate being one of the first players to bring symbiotic shenanigans into pro play. We've got two of the Jeff innovators coming in here, being forced to 1v1 each other in the backline.
So what Tetra is saying as we get into this next map is Tanuki Jeff, question mark? I mean, I was going to hope that we could, like, switch into game and just take him fully out of context before he can answer back. But I think it is more of the case of, like, how good the White Fox looks, Moxie, when it is involved in these, like, brawly compositions. The problem, however, the weakness is you have that duration of that melee mode where you can claw your way into some of these fights. Once that drops, you are very susceptible. So there's no surprise that we have seen Fate just teleport out every time that sort of presence runs out.
Yeah, well, it will be a continuation of the Elsa Bloodstone, as it's not going to be Tanuki teasing us with the Jeff. At the moment, it's Rajara, but that will go away. This is tournament server. All of our players have champion portraits looking very pretty. As a Vanguard Deadpool continues to be this thing that Team Heretics have under scrutiny, once again, forcing Navi to have to go for something like the Rogue alongside this Gambit pairing, as Heretics will be able to secure themselves the one-sided Vanguard Deadpool for Enzo.
Yeah, it's a bit of what Navi was trying to do a little bit earlier on Yggdrasil's path, and it made a pretty big difference in the end. So the change-up is going to be like the Gambit is going to be one-sided. Mantis has been banned out. Are you going to try and make it a one-sided Gambit here? Or are you going to potentially hover over the Jeff here, which means that, like, Oasis is, oh no, the character that I've been almost exclusively on is banned out.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually a really good shout coming on through from the side of Navi. Oasis's Jeff has been very detrimental for a lot of teams, plus being able to secure that Vanguard Deadpool means that you get the team up with the Jeff as well. But it does take us now back to that coin flip. So Navi, the last time that this happened, they banned out the Rogue to make it a little bit easier for their Gambit to find more value. Do they return to that form? They're thinking about it. They just have to lock it through. They're thinking about the Angela too. But they go for the Star-Lord instead. Okay, so we're still looking at something like that the Gambit will be able to put more power behind, except instead of going after something that has the team up, we're going to go for something that has a really good ult combo with it.
It's whether or not, like, if Heretics want to run the triple strategist, like, the Star-Lord as a solo duelist would be really nice for them. So it sort of takes out that option. It isn't going to be a one-sided Invisible Woman. It is just more Navi protecting it for themselves to give something to work alongside, because the backlines have been hit relatively hard from Navi onto Heretics, but Heretics have gone for everything other than strategists to ban out with the Deadpool, Vanguard, Daredevil, and the Elsa. The final ban, is it going to be a strategist? No, it's going to be the Captain America banned out, which means that Rajaro is not going to have access to the cap.
Yeah, Starlight potential. also goes down if you want to be able to play something like that. I was thinking maybe they could think about going for a rogue ban, since Trust Me was being pushed off of both Vanguard, Deadpool, as well as Rogue in that instance. But then you have things like the Groot open, and also Navi have the Mantis. So you don't really want to force them down that Vanguard line, because it will just sort of empower them a little bit more. As Navi will be starting off on the attack, Heretics the defense. They'll get the one-sided cap on the side of Beetle, and he's a player who's been very much known for being able to play the Captain America back in 2025, but I really want to look at Tanuki getting to play the Rogue as well. Heretics going for a triple Vanguard outlook with potentially a solo Wolverine duelist, really wanting to put the pressure on Navi in terms of frontline stall out.
Naga being on the Wolverine instead, actually. Yeah, we saw Tanuki played a little bit of it. I think it was on Domination earlier against Shikigami on Hell's Heaven. So we have seen it like today, and it makes sense. He's like very melee-centric in the duelist characters that he plays. Tanuki can certainly make that work. Naga on the Wolverine is more the interesting aspect of it, but it is like Invisible Woman and Gambit in the backlines, two of the strongest strategists, and Beetle immediately just sees Navi almost fairly leap out of the spawn doors. Fate switched over to the White Fox already, expecting more of the scrappy gameplay.
Yeah, I mean, that charm is going to be brutal too, since it's in a straight line. It catches multiple players. That's something Oasis wants to capitalize on with the Invis, but Fate will be able to capitalize on it too. So what we have is a race between who can get these strategist ultimates online. Enzo will beat them all to it, though. He's already 85% to the banhammer. We'll probably actually have it up by the time I finish this sentence and slam it down almost instantly when Navi decides to try and make inroads around this corner. As Heretics, without that Daredevil, they have to scout physically out where the solo wraparound could be.
Naga's taking a good amount of damage from these sightlines, has to dash out in order to go in, but Enzo, there's the leap in. Feral Leap maybe going to follow with Naga, trying to find the right targets, but he's just slashing right into the shield of Doctor Strange. Finds Terror, pulls him out of position. Over Jaro, able to get a big hit on with the Maelstrom and charge up another one in pretty decent time. Beetle, it's a second elimination against him, and Team Heretics' defense is starting to whittle down. Navi held on pretty well in the end of the invisible boundary, and both sides means that Navi are able to hold their ground, and Heretics players down, trying to make something of this. They lose Alex as a Heartbreaker is going to be used from Tanuki, and Oasis looking to try to scuttle out after the end of the invisible boundary. Everybody else from Heretics is going to drop. Beetle's going to go and reset, seeing that Navi is starting to move up.
Yeah, Heretics can go for first turn here. The problem for them is if they use Alex's ult as an opener, Rojaro gets to use the Eye of Agamotto. Yeah, they're scouting out. They're trying to work out where exactly this Invisible Woman could potentially be. But honestly, keep an eye on Rojaro. Navi have this Gambit ult mirror too. There's the Raging Rogue flush. Rajara with the Eye of Agamotto knows he doesn't have to worry about the Purify, which is why they're putting so much pressure on the Strange with the Wolverine getting that Feral grab. It's going to be an equalizer from level 1 Crook. Jerky with a late dance of the butterflies when Team Heretics players are a little bit too split, which means that the eliminations will come on through. Beetle with the Freedom Charge gets stunned into position by the Wolf with that last stand. And this is Navi working their way through Heretics players. No Strange portal, no contest. First checkpoint picked up.
Able to move on forward. Heads up play from Jerky with the Dance to Butterflies to find 2. And Heretics a little bit more scrambly in their approach, losing Beetle a couple of times and then just having to go for that final hold on the first checkpoint. To build up these ultimates now, as Tanuki is switched over towards the Daredevil. One-sided as Navi are not going to have that available. Terra more than likely staying over on this Wolverine.
Good swap too. Means that you'll be able to have the passive radar sense, working out where Trust Me is, relaying that to your backline so they're not in a position to get jumped on, and you can set up a very fast dive hit onto Navi's team to take away all this momentum. Psylocke in the backline does get taken down, but you've already done your job, right? You've already stopped all of the momentum coming on through from Navi. You've given Oasis opportunity too to build up to this invisible boundary, so when Navi uses Heartbreaker, it's not a one-sided fight. Oasis gets the opportunity to use the ult, and Heretics hold their ground.
A little bit worried though, because you have got this Eye of Agamotto in hands for Rojaro. It's been in hands for quite some time, so Heretics going to be aware of it. You got the Banhammer use from Enzo, and Oasis has cleaved his way to 2 picks. Nicely done, as the Heartbreaker from Trust Me is going to find very little. That invisible boundary didn't even need to be used.
That's huge. Now you have it to be able to try and match up with Navi's next turn. Fate will have the Kumiho unleashed. You have to worry about Dance of the Butterflies, though, on the side of Navi. since if you don't manage to actually like brawl onto these players taking damage, you can't actually get those heals off to self-sustain the White Fox's form, and Psylocke, you don't actually get to damage her in her ultimate. So everyone from Navi's trying to work out where exactly this Psylocke could be. Are they stacked up enough to be able to let Fate survive?
Leaping in is Terra. He's not really been the same level of terror, I think, on Central Park, but now that we're getting into these closer quarters, he might be able to pull out picks. It's Naga that switched over towards the Psylocke with the Dance of Butterflies, not able to match Jerky, switched over to the Star-Lord, has a Galactic Legend, very close to available. Rajaro still holding on to an Eye of Agamotto. He's going to at least use the back of the Raging Royal Flush to find himself a couple of picks to get this payload moving up top this little hill. He's trying to keep an eye on where Tanuki is playing from, who's getting this information as the Daredevil. Has to try and find a way to dive in as it's getting very close to second.
I mean, invisible boundaries there for Oasis, but Navi have two ways to punish it. They'll use Galactic Legend to force out the Freedom Charge. Oasis will fall the ultimate because of the last stand coming on through from Terra. Rajaro with the Eye of Agamotto finds the connection onto Tanuki. Oasis still has the ult, but Heretics, I don't know if you actually have the confidence to be able to commit to using it. You're down your Psylocke. There's the ultimate. Now that you have more of a Vanguard anchor presence on the objective itself, that's what Oasis was waiting for. That gives a potential stabilize opportunity, but Navi just disengaged it. They've got to let the devil out that they have to deal with. Everyone from Heretics piling past the disengage, not wanting to let Navi freely out of this, because Navi will just come back with one-sided Gambit ult if they do.
Both these teams holding on to ultimates to the point that you're thinking, oh, just get them out, use them, but all of them have been timed to perfection, really playing these mind games, using it late rather than never, and saving it for the perfect rainy day. Enzo going down, though, as the push comes through again off of the back of this Royal Flush. Seems that this is going to be the point that Heretics are going to run out of steam on this defense to keep stalling this out. Certainly when it comes to ultimates not being available, Naga was very close to having a Dance of the Butterflies. Isn't going to be able to use it in this fight, and it's not going to be great for being able to stall out the objective, as it isn't going to count for
Royal
that
Flush.
kind of contest. You've got the Royal Flush going to be used on the overside now as the defense is going to swing out, and Naga now coming back very soon with the Dance of the Butterflies is going to be paired very nicely with it. The leap in is instantly used. There goes Terra, Jerky, Fate, Rajaro, all dropping down to the ex-teammate of Naga.
TP.
It's only 15 seconds left. It has to be the teleport play from Trust Me. You can see some of the players wanting to push up to try and interrupt it, but they know they're not going to reach it. They're fighting on the objective. The Kamiho is not going to be available for Fate, but he's leaping in as the White Fox. Last stand might be enough to pull these defenders off of the point.
Invisible boundaries there for Oasis. Enzo comes on through with an early ban hammer. Oasis dodges the last hand coming through from Terra, but that ultimate is about to drop. Navi, though, they have no sustainability outside of just base healing. Freedom Charge comes on through late on the side of Beetle. Crook's taking down the Psylocke. Jerky, a last-ditch effort with the Galactic Legend, but there's no one else home, and Heretics will be able to hold Navi off at the pass. Brilliant decision-making coming through from the team. Like we said, Oasis had the invisible boundary. You're probably going like, why did he not use it? It's right there. But if he does, then it's just last stand or Eye of Agamotto, taking him down, dropping the boundary early, and allowing Navi more ultimates to be able to push the fight, push that checkpoint before Heretics can regroup. Using Beetle's Freedom Charge is absolutely the right call, and it allows Heretics to stabilize. That invisible boundary from Oasis stays standing. They get to regroup. They get to push onto Navi before they get the opportunity to come through with that Gambit ultimate to set the wheels in motion, and off of the back of how close their respawns are, funnel players back into the fight to be able to complete the hold.
Heads up play from both sides. I really like some of the more like aggressive ultimates that we saw at Jerky over on the Psylocke. And just like you said, just how these teams are playing around their Royal Flush. Alex brings it out in perfect time. And it's also like with Oasis, if he goes for that invisible boundary where he doesn't have those Vanguards in front of him, he just gets shut down. He gets eliminated,
yeah.
That invisible boundary drops. He needed his little bodyguards of Enzo and Beetle to be back in that fight, and it provided just the amount of space. But it's the fact that we went from this like blistering pace, just taking chunks out of each other's Central Park, to this where it is a lot more measured when it comes to their ultimates. They're still taking chunks out of each other, but the ultimates are much better placed from both sides.
Yeah, it's like brawl tempo. Honestly, the Invisible Woman just like brings this brawl that you can do where everyone stacks on up and you have 6 players in main just beefing it out. We've got the Captain America, though, coming on from the side of Beetle, trying to split the attention since Navi already going to be starting off with that White Fox. Terra in charge of making sure that they don't give up too much space on corner. Also catches the Cap late. Knows that there's still one person behind, so has to go clear them out too.
A dive is going to be the name on the cards for Heretics and Navi. Triple strategist with Jerky playing Invisible Woman, which is something that we have started to see a little bit more. Terra, the solo duelist, is going to have a lot of help when it comes to the Royal Flush. The Galactic Legend combo is going to be very nicely placed, and both of them building him up in tandem. Might be able to actually find Beetle overextended a little bit on this attacking side, as Enzo wants to try and go in off of the Banhammer. His front line is taking a lot of hits, and Terra's just going to use it to free farm up these ultimates, and they have to keep an eye on where Tanuki is, as whilst these battles are going forwards and backwards. It provided a little bit of a pocket of window for Tanuki to go for a fight. Doesn't get much, but Terra pretty almost close to having Galactic Legend.
Yeah, Beetle's getting a lot of space, but not a lot of heals for the backline since the Captain America is out of line of sight in a lot of these engagements, especially with Rajara just holding the front line with the shield blocking off the line of sight. So Jerky will have the invisible boundary. Oasis at the same time just manages to get the equalize. We've got the Dance of the Butterflies the moment that it drops, if they actually need it, because they're still getting the eliminations once the boundary has fallen. Second cast means that you have later sustainability, and Navi turn their attention of just dropping on the point to stall it out for as long as possible. We're about to have an absolute alt-dump fight coming on through. The Heretics, they have to be hyper-aware. In the game of rock, paper, scissors, Royal Flush plus Galactic Legend beats Royal Flush alone.
The portal play is going to be the approach. The leap in is going to be the Rogue is first out to go for this fight. And there it is, the Galactic Legend starting through the skies. You've got the Psylocke on the ground from Naga going in with the Dance of the Butterflies. The Beetle going in for this fight. Finds himself two. Both of the strategists go down. And now you've got the Eye of Agamotto Heartbreaker combination. It hits onto Free with the stun. Ends up narrowly surviving only a certain amount. It's the Freedom Charge for Beetle. It does so much to keep both the players alive. Tanuki, however, is going to go down into the fray. Enzo's built up the Banhammer, and Terra trying to leap around to see if he can sort of flip the spawns a little bit. As Heretics now trying to usher this across the point. You've got the Camille that's going to be used to try and stall this out, but Terra goes down on the re-aggress. It's still somehow Fate able to survive, but him and Crook are not too long for this world. Watching it from Tanuki's perspective, he's about to leap in and clear up any last defenders from Navi, as it is clearly going to be an inevitability as Heretics move their way onto the second.
This is spicy for Navi because Snowball potential is fully at Heretics' disposal. Closer to the Gambit ult, closer to Invisible Boundary. Banhammer to be able to start off this fight. Tanuki on the Daredevil to scout out if Navi try to go for an early aggressive push and deplete time from Heretics' space. We've got a little bit of a brawl stack up coming on through, as I think they all understand we have to get Jerky's Invisible Boundary up online as quickly as possible. But Banhammer from Enzo's just making it that much more difficult. And Ryan, at the moment, no one from Navi is actually on the objective. The whole time that this fight happens, it's off of the point, and it's slowly just moving forward.
Oh, it's just turned into brawl slop off of the objective, and watching it from Enzo's perspective, the controller player is hitting all of the shots he needs to. Now there comes the leap in onto the low ground from Heretics to clear up any pesky players as level 1 and Crook and Fate are both going down in quick succession from each other. Married in sort of life and going down means that they can reset. Their ultimate's fairly close to being available too. It has to be a big ultimate from Jerky, I think, to keep this fight going. Trust me, very quickly closing up this distance in this fight. Naga, though, he has got the Dance of the Butterflies. You also have this Royal Flush. Invisible Boundary used aggressively from Oasis trying to take this fight earlier. Eye of Agamotto doesn't catch on to anything from Rajaro. He might meet his just desserts in the end as let the devil out, and the Dance of the Butterflies is going to be used. This stall, Navi are running out of options to be able to hold this as the players are dropping down one by one. They do lose Naga, however. Beetle just holding on to this Freedom Charge in case they need it. They need a little bit more sustenance to try and push this towards the end of the map. Fate, though, Kamiho is going to stall this out a little bit more. There's the Freedom Charge to try and match it. Terra could be big, though, coming back with the last stand. That's pretty much all that's going to be available from Navi when it comes to these ultimates. They need to find the eliminations, but it's scarce in the top right-hand side of your screen. There's the Banhammer. The leap in is going to come through. It stuns onto Free and catches onto Beetle. To the last stand, providing something for Navi. It might be a disengage, but you got Enzo that's in the thick of it. Nobody else from Heretics is nearby, and somehow, some way, Navi have held on Moxie.
That's enough. The last stand coming on through from Terror, the sustainability as well from Fate and level 1 Crook, and just base neutral. Crook being so hard for Heretics to be able to get on top of. Just playing. Royal Flush does not require line of sight, so he can play behind the wall of third and give it all to his whole team. Heretics now, 1 minute remaining. Not a lot of time to be able to build up the ultimates, especially with Trust Me having the Heartbreaker. Early point of contact comes on through from Navi. They do not want to let Heretics take a clean fight. They want to burn them out of ultimate economy and time bank, so when we get into the OT desperation play, they have very little to actually take first turn and be able to beat the closer respawns. Late stagger too onto Tanuki, really bleeding through that one as Navi are going to close up the distance, work out if Team Heretics are going for a strange TP and try to counterplay it.
Doesn't look like it. Nobody has switched over just yet. See if Tanuki can actually go in for a flank to get some more information. Enzo is just trying to actually go for this very aggressive in-your-face approach. Navi holding onto the bus, onto this high ground. It's just shy of the second checkpoint. If Navi win this, they go on to match point. And Heretics see if they can scramble as overtime is about to hit. Watching it from Beetle's POV, trying to go for the dash, to go for a touch, to smush any plays from Navi that are trying to fight. But this invisible boundary is going to help them in order to hold on here. You've got the Psylocke ultimate paired up with the Daredevil. More Venn diagrams etched onto the ground as Oasis is going to provide something. But again, no eliminations. Rajara comes in with a stun. It goes on to Enzo, but he's eliminated. Last turn for Terra. It was the thing that started this defense, held it on very nicely. It's going to provide some more space and time. He goes for the pick on to Beetle. More and more players from Heretics are dropping. Everybody gets off the point. And Navi hold on with a stalwart defense and a series tournament point.
So close, but for Heretics, a little bit too far away from that finish line. Yet again, like, Terra's Wolverine has been such a difference maker in terms of those clutch fights. Also, Clutch Eye of Agamotto coming on through, being able to land onto Enzo so that you stun up the Vanguard Deadpool. You don't get the opportunity of having that additional damage coming on through from the Banhammer, as well as sustainability for the Deadpool to keep drawing out that fight for a little bit more. As it came down to the wire, truly it did, Ryan. Both teams having Gambit ultimate, both teams using Gambit ult to force invisible boundary, and then trying to find the elimination onto the Susan Storm through. But Navi just able to come out by a whisker, massively thanks to the Wolverine.
It's such small margins that are separating these teams now, even though it was Navi kind of taking Heretics apart in that upper bracket final 3-0. Even with these maps that Navi are winning, certainly now as we get deeper into this best of 7, it's a lot closer. Heretics do have another choice of map. It has to be away from Convoy, so Convergence or Domination, whatever option it's going to be, we're going to have to wait and see after this break.
Do we have level 1 Crook on the Gambit, Remy LeBeau? Or do we in fact have Terror on the Wolverine, giving us a little shout, a little run back all the way to Season 0? Let's start with Moxie. Discuss.
Yeah, I mean, that Wolverine is very problematic. And I think if you're Team Heretics, like, you already justified a Wolverine ban previously against Frost Mountain. There is reason, I think, for, like, do we want to just remove the Wolverine? Because there's multiple fights now that Terra's pick of that duelist has proved problematic to the point that they're losing fights. Like, it's aggressive, it's really good potential at just, like, putting pressure on your Vanguard, having to worry about the feral grabs as well, but also the peel potential. Like, we've talked about this. Wolverine does not have to be played for first turn. You can just, like, put him on your backline, understand that eventually if an attacking team has to walk into your team, they've got to make a play. If they don't, everyone just sort of sits there being like, well, what is happening is time is burning down, so the defense will be happy, and the attack will be out of one really good resource.
Ryan, it looks like our next map, while we are going to have a little bit of a longer wait while the teams get a quick break so that they are fully recovered for it, but we know it is the Hellfire Gala. We are heading back to the island of Krakoa.
Yeah, I also like this is no like shade at Navi, but I think it was them that asked for like just a quick 5-minute break. If I'm Heretics, I'm going like we've played 9 maps of Marvel Rivals today. Let's just keep this train going at this point. Navi's like, no, we're too tired. We've played 4. It's been a very long day for us. Just Heretics are just in the mines at this point. It's a really good map for Krakoa to potentially go to as the final map for Navi to shut this one down. But Heretics, if they're able to clamber it back, it could be things starting to break apart. It pretty much exclusively forces it to be Convergence as that final map, which is a little bit of an area that Heretics might not be as comfortable on in comparison to Convoy. It still like leaves a lot open though, and certainly when we're talking about like, is it worth banning out the Wolverine? On Krakoa, it's one of those hard ones where it's like it's hard to gauge because so many options for the duelists are available.
There are so many effective characters, and also it depends on point to point, Moxie. There are some points where you've got a massive line of sight, and there are some points where there's some huge choke points. It very much depends where they start, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, maybe moving away from the Wolverine, one of the other things that's been like a really big problem area is Fate's White Fox, to be like honest. Because if he goes off of the White Fox, he probably goes on to something like the Jeff, but that White Fox has been proving like really, really rough. In terms of like the ultimate, it's kind of okay. You can burst through it fairly easily, especially if you have like Oasis on the Jeff being able to complete the E, as you've seen multiple times. Using the Kumiho Unleashed does still leave you susceptible to the Jeff ultimate, and you do just become a larger target to go off of that map. But in the neutral, right, it's really sort of like circumventing a lot of what Heretics want to do. We saw multiple times that on Museum of Contemplation, Beetle on the Captain America just trying to be present in that back line, getting massively peeled for, both by Terra, but also by Fate just having that wherewithal, having that CZ stun to put the pressure even when the Captain America drops her shield.
We've seen Fate play defensively, like you say, to just kind of try and counter-duel him. We've also seen him play a little bit aggressively in some of these fights. We saw him quite a bit earlier, clearing out a Cosmic Yard Amplifier as White Fox after just following up on his team's dive. He's a scary player to deal with, Ryan.
Oh, for sure. I think it's just the fact that he's like ahead of the curve with these kind of characters. Like he's been grinding it a lot. He's been just actually pulling Jerky in to sort of run in as this strategist duo. Like, you're on Lunas though, I'm on White Fox, let's go. And he's like, yes, honey. Like, I've been forced into this role. But it has worked out for Jerky because he has been forced into positions like there where he's playing the Invisible Woman. He's not afraid to sort of pick up whatever characters are necessary. And even though like people are going to look at the flashy duelists and stuff like Terra, and Jerky is going to be sort of looked at as just like not lighting up the like damage done stuff, he is a pivotal role on this squad, right? Like he's trying to fill in all of these gaps and allow Navi to be a little bit more clear cut with some of these compositions that they want to run through, which makes maps like Krakoa intimidating for Team Heretics. It was the reason why they lost it yesterday in that upper bracket final.
We appreciate all of your patience. The players are ready, so we'll be heading into map number 5. If Navi win, they will be your preseason champions and be heading into season 1 with a lovely advantage. Whereas if Heretics win, they've still got to win 2 more times. It's an uphill battle. I'd say they need to pray, but they are Heretics. In fact, they will have to choose their own gods. They may hit pray to Mr. Poole himself.
Chills. I like that a lot. How was it taking that long to hear that, Tension? That's actually such a sick line. Anyway, back to this. I hope people don't have plans tonight because I do think that this series has a couple more twists and turns as preseason pretty much has. The one thing that we are sure that isn't going to like twist and turn too much is this first ban. Elsa has not been available. It might have been the last time that we've seen her so far in preseason. I imagine it's going to be more of the same, and it is, Mox.
Yeah, more of that Elsa instant ban. Now, do Team Heretics go for the Gambit? Do they go for the Invisible Woman? They continue going for this Vanguard Deadpool. As we've talked about, like, Krakoa Domination map, very, very strong for getting that Deadpool ultimate online very, very quickly before the first fight has even commenced a lot of the time. Something that Navi just do not want to let slip one-sided. They're going to secure it too, which means that we're going to have an absolute arms race to be able to get the first ban hammer off.
Are we going to see this utopia where Elsa and Gambit are going to be banned out from either side? I mean, that would... I love that sort of like what is it going to be, Heretics? Is it going to be banning out the Elsa or banning out the Gambit? Why not both? Yeah, both is good. Both teams have shook on it, and it seems to be the case of where it's going. We are expecting Navi to ban it out eventually, but they might be going out for the Daredevil, which has actually been mirror banned. Neither team sees each other do this. They were just on the same wavelength.
I mean, I do think banning out the Gambit is more impactful on the side of Team Heretics here, since Navi have been the ones mostly leaning on things like that Rogue in the neutral. Navi, though, they're going to actually save the Jeff coming on through. So we talked about it. We summoned it. We said it, what, 3 times? Fate's Jeff is going to be running amok potentially, unless this is all a bait and he's actually going to roll out on the White Fox so that Navi get the better composition to start off the domination round to close up that first snowball-heavy fight. As Heretics now going to be seeing that Jeff thinking about maybe banning out the Venom, but no, they ban out the Cap instead. So symbiotic shenanigans still going to be online for Navi if they want to be able to complete these dives.
Yeah, at least one of the sort of divier tanks is going to be in play with the Deadpool Vanguard, so Captain America isn't going to be paired alongside it. Jeff is going to be protected on both sides. Oasis is sweating a little bit, wants to make sure that he has access to this character that he didn't have access to last time. And then Star-Lord banned out at the end, which does mean that the Gambit is still available for Heretics. So you'd have to imagine that Alex is going to be very keen on picking it up.
Yeah, but they won't have the Star-Lord. And again, this was like a really good ban coming on through from Navi because Heretics haven't really been playing the Rogue all that much. They haven't been starting off on the Rogue. They've only been mirroring it when Navi's hand has forced them to be able to equalize the damage potential in that neutral. So much more problematic would the Star-Lord be with that ultimate combination, especially if you're playing for Jeff as one of your strategists, because that sustainability would be pretty much non-existent into a Galactic Legend Raging Roll Flush combination. And it looks, Ryan, like we're going to be potentially ending things here with starting off from Krakoa with dive, full dive. Trust me is on the Venom, Fate's going to have the symbiotic shenanigans, Jerky is coming through onto the Psylocke, Rashara is not going to be sticking on the rocket, even though it would give Terra an additional iframe. But it looks like Navi might be going for just a strange teleport to try and get the jump literally on Heretics at the start.
Heretics picked up the characters, or is this... There we go. Having a bit of a choice here. Okay, this is very much going to be balls to the wall with how these comps are looking. So deep breaths, everybody. Put it on full screen. It could be the end of Heretics' run in preseason and preseason altogether, unless they're able to pull back Krakoa. Navi going for the portal play to begin with, as it's going to be Terra that's actually going to try and isolate a target, and the eyes are on Alex.
Oh, can they catch this Gambit? Everyone piles on through. You've got the symbiotic shenanigans. You've been able to use that portal and split the team from that Gambit. This now forces Heretics to have to turn back and peel. Unicorn Shield comes on out from both of these Deadpools, but Jerky's been able to find an isolated Vanguard and takes Enzo down. Heretics losing one of those bodies to absorb the incoming damage will also now start feeling it in terms of the amount of heal sustainability that the strategist can battery off of. Still, Phoenix, uncontested on the off angle, picks up the Psylocke and now turns your attention onto looking instead at the Venom. As Enzo dropped early, just goes back on the Doctor Strange.
Picks have been traded out though, and the point still hasn't been taken. Look how close it is for Navi to actually touch it across the line, and they do. Alongside the Banhammer means that this is going to be a routing of eliminations going up against Heretics. More so that they're going to try and reset as quickly as possible and not allow the rest of Navi to build up any more ult charge.
Yeah, that's really problematic for Team Heretics, who now are going to be swapping Beetle over to that Rogue, understanding, okay, Navi are playing dive. Thought about the Rogue, actually decide that they're going to swap Tanuki onto the Rogue. Beetle goes for the Cap instead, so you're still going to have dive presence. You've got the Psylocke to be able to follow up on. The best defense is a strong offense, and they'll be looking at Navi's back line, who are a lot closer to Strategist ultimates. Alex not having that heal sustainability to be able to battery from Enzo's presence means that he's massively behind on the first Gambit ult cast.
Brawly in nature as well. Heretics now, Tanuki on the Rogue. So yeah, it's going to be a whole lot of left clicking and punching their way through if they can find an opening. But Navi are playing so well front to back, even with this dive. It's very reserved in how they're looking for these engagements. But there's Heretics trying to use this as a chance to push all the way through. A leap up to the skies. Terra is going to try and dodge some of this damage, but it has to be respected because he has the Eye of Agamotto. They don't know exactly where he's going to drift in from. And now you've got the Royal Flush from Alex, allowing a bit more of a push. Agamotto connects onto Oasis. He had the ultimate. He's instantly deleted from the Maelstrom. And Dance to the Butterflies from Naga has to come out, but it's not leading to any eliminations, only against his team as Jerky finds that final pick to keep things stalled out. 80% reached from Navi, and no portal play for Heretics as they used it a little bit earlier on.
Final fight territory, only a Jeff ultimate, Freedom Charge, and Heartbreaker to be able to set your way onto this point. Terra swapping back on the Wolverine as well means that Heretics Vanguards are going to have to be very worried about those potential grabs. As Heretics won't use the Strange TP, they'll use the Map TP instead. Navi heard the sound cue though. They've already been able to rotate their backline away from Tanuki's presence. No one gets hit by that Heartbreaker, and the Rogue has to go forward into the freeze coming on through from level 1 Crook. Overtime's in play. Beetle has to come out with this Freedom Charge. Oasis still has the It's Jeff, but unfortunately you don't use it in time to save your Gambit. Jeff heals only. Dance of the Butterflies is about to be running out of partners because Heretics are out of players, and Navi 100-0 on Cradle, within a stone's throw of locking Heretics out of the series.
With very little players to fight this, all falling one at a time, it's now down to one opportunity for Heretics. Otherwise, it's going to be Navi winning the preseason of Ignite 2026. Switching around things to get Enzo over on the Hulk, and Naga now actually going on the Invisible Woman to go more towards some of the triple strategists, I guess, looking for Tanuki to be that solo duelist.
Alex actually takes over the strategist Deadpool. So you forego the Banhammer coming on out from the Vanguard Deadpool, as well as that Unicorn Shield to cut line of sight. But Navi are taking like these fights in so many different positions that you just want to have a triple strategist line to stabilize and utilize things like that heal sustainability of the AoE. Oasis does have ult. Navi don't really have anything to be able to avoid this, as we're going to get a very early Strange TP on the side of Terra yet again. This is what they did previously, but Enzo should just be able to, with the Hulk, stack up with the rest of the team and provide those unbreakable guards to bubble everybody. As Heretics portal onto point, Navi are about to portal right on top of Heretics as Jeff. Oasis is about to be jumped on by 6 people to force the ult early.
I'm in danger, Oasis says as he's about to get leaped in on. And it's also Heretics fighting without the Gambit. They've switched away from it despite having access. They want to go for something that no doubt is one of their compositions. They're acing the hole potentially, as it's led to a pick onto Terra, but it's traded out on the other side as it's Jeff and Feast of the Abyss both going to be used to keep this fight stalled out in the end. A grab up, but you can already see the Jerkies making sure that this Jeff can't get away too far. Not able to grab all that much, I don't think, in the end. But now it's a Banhammer from Rajaro starting off the fight the same way as last time and finds a pick onto Oasis. Heretics might be losing out on this first fight again on 2 points in a row as the rest of Heretics starting to drop. Worldbreaker even for Enzo. He's going to switch across. The portal play is actually going to come out early on the side of Team Heretics, and it's Beetle that has to maybe try and go in. It's not going to be enough time-wise. Navi able to flip the point.
No, they used it at the start of the round.
Oh, they did. Of course they did.
And it did force, though, that Worldbreaker late, force fate of both worlds late in that fight too. So now if you're Team Heretics, you do have a light at the end of the tunnel, right? Tanuki will be able to come and through down to the Butterflies. You have one-sided invisible boundary. It means that it's crucial that you scout out where exactly Terror is going to be, though, because that last stand can pin you right out of position, as Fate will be playing absolute untouchable Jeff all the way away from where the fight is actually happening. There's the last stand. That's the whole team. Oh my goodness. That picks up the Invisible Woman. You get no chance of using Invisible Boundary. That's a GG, just go next.
Oh, there might not be many. GG go next. This might be it, but this fight has gone so badly for Heretics. They want to try and reset as much as they can. Enzo, is he going to be stalled out much? I imagine Navi is just going to bully his way in. The freeze. Let's just see. Jerky is just poking. Yeah, somebody's behind you. Stop hitting yourself. He goes for the portal, but he's got 4 players all ready to charge him off. Stalls out a bit longer. That is not a luxury that Heretics have, though. Time is not on their side, as it's going to be 60% on the board for Navi.
I mean, it's desperation plays. Tanuki's onto the Moon Knight, Ryan. The Moon Knight without the Groot. Like, you are punishing the fact that Navi are playing very stacked
Wolverine.
up. You'll be able to have the Hand of Conchu, but yeah, goes for the Wolverine instead. Has the fastball special. Might get thrown right into the mix, but Beetle goes down first by a grab coming on through from Terra. Cherokee with the Dance of the Butterflies forces the invisible boundary off the point. Heretics will live it, but it comes at the cost of the Strategist ultimate that they were relying on stabilizing their position against Navi's on the point itself. Level 1 Crook's about to come on through a fate of both worlds. If we even get to an opportunity where it's needed, as Fate just uses the edge Jeff to get the heal sustainability, and Team Heretics have to just play the space away from the Jeff's potential lead.
Oh, the angle Terror. He just survives on a pixel. Able to actually take Oasis off of it. Alex has to go for the Strategist Deadpool ultimate, and he's been dove on by Trust Me. His whole time is looming. That wick is burning very quickly. Nobody from Heretics is touching, and that is it. Navi have found themselves a win in the preseason, and Heretics, this new super team, has to deal with second.
Oh boy. I mean, Terra's just going to go back into that replay code and clip the 6-person last stand. That is actually insane. Perfectly positioned, too, to get that one player that you absolutely had to grab, the Invisible Woman. Since she's grabbed up, she still sees Siege. She does not get the opportunity for the double jump away, doesn't get to use the invisible boundary to heal the rest of the team who were grabbed. Absolute huge stuff coming on through from the whole team of Navi, who, as we said, very, very flexible, also very, very strong at dive, which Team Heretics found out. Navi, 2 rounds back-to-back of 0 to 100% domination.
What an aura way for Terra to finish off his introduction to EMEA, pulling everybody off of this objective, and your backline of level 1 Crook and Fate going down in that final fight, that final map, 0 times apiece. The Daredevil being banned out made a big difference there, as it was sort of free reign for that backline. They weren't being dove on half as much, but it's just Navi, a couple of like stepping stones that they had to make their way through in preseason. But once they reach playoffs, outside of a map drop against Fire Strays, it really has been smooth sailing. Navi looking the top dog amongst the EMEA crowd.
Well, it's like we basically just went back in time, right? When Navi previously Rad were the best team in the region in that mid-season stage, coming on for the champions yet again. I'm sure that's not going to be the last title that they have the chance of getting their hands on this year, as yet again we get to see like they're so good at working out the meta at the perfect time, especially when new heroes come into the mix. Fate with the White Fox, Jeff last year. This team always are the innovators of Marvel Rivals.
They make a new strategist absolutely sing, but it's the old, the new, the Navi, this like squad that has been the best in the region outside of Virtus Pro's like consistent stints, but when VP's out of the picture, it seems to always be this Navi squad that takes the title in their stead, and it was rightly so. They were tremendous this tournament, and it's good to see this Heretic squad look strong in some capabilities, but Navi very much sending themselves at top here.
Navi are just that good. There has barely been a tournament where they've not even been in the top 3 coming up to here. Mid-season finals champions, EMEA stage 1, second place just behind Berber and Patapim. Stage 2, they make it to LAN. They come second place at the World Finals. This team is just that good, and they start off 2026 in magnificent fashion. Some small roster changes, and it seems to be working out very well for them. Navi standing tall. Let's talk a little bit about Team Heretics while we have a quick chat about the before we really dive heavily in on Navi. Let's start with Ryan. What a performance by Team Heretics for what is essentially a mixed roster coming into this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's as good as you could sort of expect, really. Like Heretics, they dominantly beat Navi in groups, but it felt that Navi got a good read on what Heretics were doing, and this squad was built relatively recently, right? Like just getting those final bits and pieces in, some of those players from Citadel moving over towards the States to be able to play there. It's just a case of Heretics needed to learn those matchups, those metas, those compositions, and just ran a little bit short against a team that has a lot of experience, almost too much experience, playing some of the wacky ideas. They're only going to look better and stronger, and we know that there's enough tenacity between them to really challenge this top spot. So I think they're going to be happy with a second place finish, but they're going to be hungry for first.
They've got to be, right, Moxie? After that good of a performance, after already beating Navi once, they got to be looking ahead now.
Yeah, I think like for Heretics, like Ryan said, it's just sort of like getting some more of those reps against these teams that are very, very good at adapting on the fly. Like, for instance, when Heretics get one-sided Gambit through, you're thinking like, wow, the fact that you have Gambit means that you have always got one-sided Raging Rock Flush. There's no Loki on the other side to be able to get the copy of. Navi see that, okay, you've got Gambit, so what does that mean we have to do? Well, we'll open up with a portal, we'll drop onto your Gambit, we'll find the elimination so that you lose the potential first fight, can't have Gambit ult to snowball the second, and then put us into an unwinnable situation for the whole rest of the round in the third fight as well. And they do it not just once, but twice.
But now we say goodbye to Heretics until Stage 1 begins, and we look ahead to the two who will be heading into Stage 1 as champions again. Navi, they... Just what can you even do against a team with this much versatility, this much flexibility, and this much individual talent on each individual player, including the player we're going to be interviewing once they jump on in here, which is going to be Jerky. But Ryan, this team, another star-making performance from them.
It's everything that you would hope for, I guess, like with what they went through for grand finals, their second place finish, but also it was just almost like similar. I think that's what I'd ask for Jerky. I remember talking to Navi at the start of the grand finals and be like, yeah, our scrims are going atrociously, but we still know that we can just pull it out of our backsides a little bit and just go on these runs because we know how to adapt in these tournaments. We know how to lose and lose graciously and learn from it and bounce back. It was the same here for Navi. They didn't go to the losers bracket like they did in the mid-season finals or the grand finals last year. They just had a perfect royal run in the top spot. And yeah, they were dominant in those steads, beating the likes of Virtus.pro on the way. Goes to show that they're very much the top team because they beat all of the others.
And Moxie, let's talk about, before we get onto Jerky, the Wolverine in the room. Terra joining this roster and just got unleashed in both the series they played against Heretics.
I mean, he's a literal honey badger. Just like put him in a room with 6 people, let him just rip through the whole team. Like, you have to be so worried. You saw multiple times when we were watching Heretics' POV, people looking around. If they did not have the Daredevil, being like, is there a Wolverine around the corner? Maybe he's hit. Oh, he's behind me, isn't he? And then you just get grabbed out and just deposited behind enemy lines and absolutely shredded down. Plus, Wolverine, he's got a passive, so even when you should be able to take him down, no, he just pops right back up thanks to good old super healing.
Yeah.
But speaking of good old, we have good old Jerky coming on in here. An incredible performance from Navi. And wow. Coming into 2026, it feels like it's just yesterday that I was chatting to you at the World Championships, but coming into 2026 as champions of Preseason, that's got to feel good heading into Stage 1.
Yeah, it feels very good because I think everyone counted us out, right? Especially Team Heretics and all of the other EU teams, right? No one put us even in the top 3, I think, which was pretty crazy. But we proved that we are the best, and we proved that we got our second place in Atlanta by skill, right? So yeah, we're just gonna keep dominating and showing what's up.
What was the work that you guys did? Because as you said, in the group stages, you went up against Heretics. Heretics were able to complete a pretty quick series, and then we come back into the playoffs, and you guys look incredibly different. You're being able to pull out the win against Heretics not just once, but twice. Did you do any work in between those 2 games as well, understanding that Heretics probably will adapt around that first match?
I mean, there's a big difference in team skills, right? Like when you have a team like Navi and you have a team like Team Heretics and they blow out all their aces, all their cards up their sleeves in a game that doesn't really matter, right? We don't really want to do that. And we don't mind losing that game. It's only for seeding, right? So they showed us all their cards and they got the consequences in return when it really mattered, right?
I think my question's more about the future to an extent, right? Because like preseason's over, Lower Manhattan's about to come out, Black Cat is going to be available too. What can you sort of tell us about like the meta, knowing that it's going to change? What like insight can you give us that you wouldn't have given us at the start of the day because, you know, it was your strategies, it was your ideas. What can you tell us a bit behind the scenes meta-wise, because things are going to change up again for Season 7.5 and Stage 1?
Yeah, for sure. So we haven't played on the new patch recently because obviously we're preparing for the preseason, so we don't really know what's good and bad. I saw that Luna got a buff, so shout out to Crook, the best Luna aimer, right? He's gonna be dominating even more now than ever on Luna. I think Black Cat is really, really good, and that's gonna shake up the meta completely because she's kind of a dive hero, but also a peel hero with the Mento fish. So that's gonna be very, very good, and I want to see how people implement that, right? So I think the meta is going to change quite a bit with the Black Cat hero, but I'm not sure yet because we haven't really tested much it out. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
you're all good. We'll find out in just under a month. We'll get to see like what you guys pull out on this. But for now, you come out of preseason as the champions. You yourself have been adjusting onto heroes like the Invisible Woman and stuff like that. Are we expecting even more variety from Navi coming up?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think a lot of people have me as a, how do you say that, like heavyweight for Navi because I'm like not a flashy player. I'm not like the star player, right, that everyone plays for. I just kind of fill and check what the team needs, and that's kind of my specialty. So yeah, we'll definitely see more variety coming on forward. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what 7.5 has in store for us. That's what I'll say.
All right, and the last question I will ask is, as a reminder for people at home watching, Navi is one of our partner teams here in Ignite, meaning that you can head into game right now and get yourself, if you want, a bundle for Navi where you can represent them in-game as Deadpool, which is any role. But I'd like to give it over to Jerky. What would you say to anyone who might be looking to pick that up?
I mean, Navi Bundle is more than just a skin in game, right? You're repping the best team in the world. You're not only repping the best team in EMEA, you're repping the best team in the world. And I remember SG Fox actually got on here yesterday and said that everyone is just playing behind them and Team Liquid Citadel, which to me is a crazy take, right? Because I know Fox is a big fan of mine. He really likes us and he really likes Navi. But it's kind of crazy to say it because we can think back to Atlanta, and I think the first and second place were EMEA. And however you look at the VP losing now, I think it won't change. When there's a LAN coming up, first and second will be VP versus Navi, and everyone else is going to be in the backseat watching and rooting for one of us. So, yeah.
Fighting words from Jerky. We'll let you go celebrate with your team. Thank you for joining us, and once again, congratulations on winning the preseason.
Thank you very much.
What a player. I will dispute him a little bit here, calling himself, as he worded it, a heavyweight. He was one of the highest damage dealers in Atlanta. He's one of the flashiest players when he gets on almost any hero and has some of the best versatility we have. We can't call him a heavyweight, Moxie. Surely, we got to tell him to take that back.
Yeah,
no,
I
we
also
absolutely can't.
The final thing as well is just he's such a sweetheart, and then he's like, America's, however, shut up. Like, what are you talking about? I'm just like, yes, finally. We haven't got the international event for preseason, but for stage 1, it's something to keep an eye on for the future.
But America, speaking of which, will be coming up later. But first, a reminder that if you enjoyed the plays of Navi, if you enjoyed our world champions from mid-season and your current preseason champions, then the Navi bundle, the Natus Vincere bundle, is available in-game right now. You can go and pick that up. You will be getting that shirt for the Deadpool, the spray, the emote, everything you could possibly need is available in-game for you to represent the current top team in EMEA and possibly the world? !/exclamation point. Because what a performance. But you can just head into game and get that right now. And again, it's for Deadpool. You can play any role. We've seen him on every role except Duelist in at least this preseason. But who knows what stage 1 will bring us, Mox?
In EMEA.
In EMEA, yeah. I think America actually would exchange words with you there about where we would rate Duelist Deadpool.
Very fair. But that's going to be coming up to the end for us for this incredible preseason. We're looking ahead to stage 1. Moxie, what are you looking forward to?
New meta. You know me. I love getting to see how teams adjust to new meta because we have like similar strategies from the way you would play like dive compositions or bunker compositions or brawl compositions, but new heroes, Black Cat especially, that's going to change the game. For sure, that's going to change the game.
And Ryan, the same question to you. These are our results for the day. We had some intense matchups, but what are you looking forward to in the future?
I'm looking forward to just how crazy the roster mania is going to be for everybody else that isn't these like top teams that we've seen in the last couple of days. Everybody's looking to make improvements. I think the top squads, including the likes of Shikigami, Rad, even Fire Strays, can be very happy with the progress that they made, but they're not going to be happy with their placements. They want to do a little bit better. And whilst we don't know much about where or when mid-season finals is going to be, we know that these teams are going to be itching for a spot. Certainly the partnership teams that are looking to make sure that they make those spots known.
Absolutely. And while a lot of people's predictions may have gone up a little bit in flames due to just chaos throughout all the regions, this has been because we've had one of the most fun metas we have had, Moxie. This has been such a delightful season.
I mean, it's been a memorable season, right?
Yes,
I know
sure.
it's come at the cost of pretty much everyone's predictions. I believe we only had, what, 3 people correct in group stages? Probably less than that, let's be honest, coming on through here for the playoffs. But I'm happy with the trade-off. We got to see Gambit, we got to see Elsa, we got to see matches where both of those weren't played, and even then in that last map, it's just no Gambit, no Elsa, full dive.